Mass Debaters is performed in front of a live social media audience. We are a mature podcast to talk about mature things. This is definitely not kid friendly. We warn you. Anything that we say about anything is our own personal opinions, not the opinions of anyone else. Any clips we use is not ours. We're just borrowing for the show. Thank you and have a nice day. Hello. Welcome to Mass Debaters Presents Brackets. My name is DeAndre Robinson, and I'm not going to lie. I got this brand new headset, and that music just blasts my eardrums. Woke me up. And these are my friends. I want everyone to say hello, friends.
What up?
Hey, hello. What's going on?
So I'm gonna introduce everybody. So listen, we got first things first. We got a 4-time person that could come to Master Debaters. Got my cousin Chris Broadway.
Hey,
Chris, what's up, man?
What's going on, folks? Protect women titties. Yeah, that's it.
Your girl still selling those bras?
My wife still sells bras. Yes, she does.
There you go. All right, Casey from Washington and the Evening at the Movies podcast. Say what's up, man.
What up? Top guy in.
All right, Casey, tell us about your podcast and where to find it.
So, I host an Evening at the Movies. It is a podcast where, like we say in the opening, we like to eat stale popcorn and drink watered down sodas and discuss all of our favorite movies and why we love them. So, with that said, we can be found most of your places where you find your podcast needs being met: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, wherever. We're always looking to expand and try and reach as many people as an audience as we can. So if you have a platform that you cannot find us on, let me know, and we will do our best to try and meet your podcast needs as well.
Thank you, Casey. It's Casey's second time. Well, first and a half time, because the first time it was like half of it. But second time being on the show.
Talk about the last time I was on Master.
Yeah. It's deleted. It got deleted somehow. Wink. And Brad, please tell us about your podcast and where to find it.
Yeah, my name's Brad Williams. I have a podcast called Once Upon a Wasteland, which is an audio drama. It is a post-apocalyptic sci-fi romance mystery that's set in the Fallout 76 universe, the Bethesda Game Systems online role-playing game. Our first season finished up in May. It's a 10-episode season. Our second season is going to start in October. But it's a fun story. There's humor, there's the romance, like I said, there's action, there's a mystery. I think there's something for everybody. It was a really successful season. Our download numbers are they exceeded my expectations. The reception's been really good, and it's been a lot of fun. Met a lot of great people doing it too, including you.
Thank you so much. Speaking of fans, Brad, I want you to say these words for me. Hello, Dwayne. How you doing?
Hello, Dwayne. How are you doing?
And you just gave Dwayne an orgasm because he loves your show.
That's great.
he loves the show. Like he loves your show. Like, he loved to follow out everything, and he couldn't be on for personal reasons today. But listen, he loves the show. So
that's great to hear. I appreciate it.
All right. So again, welcome to Master Debaters Presents the Brackets, where we take a topic, get 104 of them, and break it, vote. Have fans vote until there's only one left. All right, this episode is the 90s movies. And shout out to Twitter, because some of these matchups got over 1,000 votes. So shout out to Twitter. So how this works is that we take the percentages from Twitter and Facebook, and we average them together, and that's who wins. Okay, I know that some people don't like that, but it's easier for me. All right. This is a lot of work.
I feel your pain because we're right smack dab in the middle of that Stephen King movie tournament on our show, and we're nowhere. I mean, we're only doing a 32 movie tournament, where you guys are doing a way lot more than we are. And it is a lot of work even to do a 32 entry tournament. I mean, between having to do the post, keeping track of the votes, I mean, holy crap. I did not think it was going to be this labor intensive.
I didn't think so either when we started. Yeah.
It's fun, don't get me wrong.
It is fun. I didn't think it's going to be this labor intensive as well, but I love doing it. Like, I'm a big fan of knowing what people think. Not me personally, but what people think in general. And it's fun. It's fun for me to do this. However, though, I am taking a break for September, so there won't be any tournaments for September. But however, when we come back, we are doing the 104 horror movies for October. All right, I got you. I know Casey went on. I know you went on, Casey. I got you. All right, we are doing 104.
Oh, by the way, before we get started, I have a message I'm supposed to. Amanda said hi.
Hello, Amanda. If anybody knows, Amanda is a friend of both Casey and myself. Maybe you guys as well. She runs the Sleepless podcast, which is actually a really good podcast as well.
I highly recommend it.
Yes, I've been a couple of times. Casey's on there all the time, so yeah, it is very fun. So we are doing horror movies in October. Chris, myself, Cam, who's on Master Bidders, and I think one person will be on the Black Movie Tournament on next Thursday. Going live next Thursday, and then I got to find some way to do the comedy tournament before October as well. All right. Also, it's coming up. We got 2,000 movies. We got hip hop songs. We got rom-coms, sports movies, action movies, classic rock songs, sitcoms, cartoons, and video games. Okay. So we should be good until at least late next year. All right. With that being said, let's start the show. So this is 90s movies tournament, 104. We have our personal top 5 movies of the 90s. Some of us have honorable mentions, and that's what we're going to talk about right now. So, Casey, if you can give me your honorable mentions, only up to 5, please.
Okay, so my honorable mentions. I'm going to preface my honorable mentions by saying that one of the things that Amanda and I love doing on the SIP list is we love having various off the wall. Like, you have obviously cookie cutter things that fit. Obviously, certain things obviously have to be considered. We like going off the wall. So certain things I'm leaving off of my list, but for my honorable mentions, I have my number 5 honorable mention is the Stephen King classic Misery.
Every time I think about that, my ankle hurts.
Yeah,
that is like one of the 5 biggest scenes in a movie that I cannot watch.
Yeah,
I don't care how many times I've seen it. I know it's coming, and I just
I can't even look at a sledgehammer to this day.
Yeah,
right. Number 4 is the Tim Burton classic starring Johnny Depp, Edward Scissorhands. Number 3, my all-time favorite Disney movie, The Lion King. Number 2 is Jurassic Park. And number 1, the Wes Craven horror classic, Scream.
Okay. Chris, give me your honorable mentions.
All right, so I got 6 honorable mentions.
5.
Oh man,
5.
It's hard. It's hard to.
Yeah.
I get a 5. All right. So I have a classic feel-good movie, Dumb and Dumber, man. That's a really good honorable mention. Austin Powers is really good. Step into the drama realm. We're gonna go with Poetic Justice. starring Janet Jackson and Tupac Shakur. It's a great movie. A real good underrated low budget movie that I love is Belly. It's a great honorable mention movie. And of course, we can't go nowhere. We can't talk about movies and we don't talk about Kris Kringle. We're gonna talk about Miracle on 34th Street. So those are my 5 honorable mentions.
All right. Well, before I go to Brad, fuck Christmas. All right, go ahead.
so I'm just gonna go in chronological order for my honorable mentions because I didn't rank those. So I'll start off 1990 with a Jim Jarmusch movie called Night on Earth. Okay. So Night on Earth, if you're not familiar with it, it's a movie that has 4 vignettes, and it's about taxi drivers over the course of one night, right? So it starts in LA, it goes to New York, it goes to Paris, and then I forget where the 4th one is. It's been a little while since I watched it, but Winona Ryder's in it, and one of her first roles. It might have been her first role, but it's really good. It hits you hard. There's some really powerful stuff in there. The scene in Paris is in French, which I found it pretty funny because there's a joke in there that you only get if you speak French. It's a really well done movie. I mean, it's Jim Jarmusch, so you would expect it to be well done in that way. But so then we'll move on to 1992, and this is a Baz Luhrmann movie, the first of his 3 Red Curtain trilogy. The Moulin Rouge and Romeo and Juliet were the other 2, and it's strictly ballroom. I like movies that have just that right level of, I guess, absurdity, and there's just enough absurdity but a lot of heart in this movie. It's the kind of thing that you can watch and really it's I wouldn't necessarily call it a feel good movie, but you feel really good when you watch it. It's a great movie. So staying in 1992, I'm going to pick a movie by Kid and Play, but not the one you may be thinking of. Class Act. Now I consider House Party to be their best film, but Class Act I think is my favorite Kid and Play movie, and Kid has said that was their best paycheck because it was a Warner Brothers movie and not a New Line movie. But that, like, I guess you can gauge favorite movies by which one you watch more, and I watch Class Act a lot more than I watch House Party, and I watch House Party a lot. So yeah, that's absolutely one of my favorite movies, and it was hard to have it in the honorable mentions and not in my top 5. So 1993 Jurassic Park. And that's an experience one. I mean, obviously it's a great movie, but just the memory of seeing that at Carousel Center in Syracuse with my friend Jen, and just seeing that play out on the big screen, just something that I had never seen before in my life. It's the kind of thing that really, it's one of the things that made me want to go into writing and go into like filmmaking and that kind of thing. It's really, it's one of those things that it's an experience you can't duplicate. And the last one that I have is another kind of indie darling. It's called The Last Supper. And it has an all-star cast. Cameron Diaz is in it. It was one of her first movies. Ron Eldard, but it also has some big names in smaller roles, like Bill Paxton is in it, Mark Harmon, Jason Alexander. But basically, the story of that movie is it's these college students, master's degree students, who start morally judging people and giving them one last chance to sort of redeem themselves. And if they do, they spare them, and if they don't, they poison them and plant them in their tomato garden. But it's a fun kind of subversive movie. It's not a horror movie. It's more comedy than anything else. It's comedy drama, but it's a fun kind of indie movie.
All right. So I watched 2 of those 3 that you said. So just that you know, I mean, I have to write those down or listen to those when I play this back to watch it again. But 2 of those movies definitely, especially Class Act, is definitely underrated. My honorable mentions: Boys in the Hood, number 1. I'm mentioning. Arguably, it could be in the top 5, but I can't. No, I can't. Number 2. I know I just said fuck Christmas, but Home Alone 2 is my favorite. One of my favorite Christmas movies of all time. Home Alone 2, not the first one. Home Alone 2. Right? Home Alone 2.
Lost in New York.
Lost in New York. Yeah, I got to put Home Alone 2 in there. All right. Number 3. Casino. Casino is one of my favorite outside of holy shit. I don't have that movie in here. Oh, that can't happen. All right, hold on. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. All right, so yeah, Casino is definitely Casino is definitely number my mentions. Another honorable mention is The Lion King. Just like Casey said, arguably should be in the top 5 as well because Lion King is my favorite cartoon movie of all time. It's either that or Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and it's.
I don't think you can go wrong with either of those two choices.
And my last honorable mention is He Got Game. I am a big Spike Lee fan. Spike Lee's my favorite director of all time, and this is my favorite movie by Spike Lee. I'm not saying it's the best movie by Spike Lee. Right. It's my favorite movie by Spike Lee because as my cousin Chris, my favorite basketball player of all time is in the movie. It's Ray Allen.
Ray Allen.
I'm a big Ray Allen fan.
Jesus.
I ask Chris. I base my game off Ray Allen. Off Ray Allen.
You like him everything.
So that's my number. That's my honorable mentions. So we're gonna go one at a time for top 5. All right. So Brad, I'm gonna ask you for your number 5.
My number 5, and I understand that people may make fun of me for this, but my number 5 is the Tom Cruise, Renee Zellweger classic, Jerry Maguire. And I know there's some cliche stuff, and it wasn't cliched at the time, but like "Show Me the Money" turned into a big meme, and "You Complete Me" turned into a meme. But it's a movie that has an enormous amount of heart, and just there's so many moving parts in it that move so well together. You know, you talk about He Got Game being your favorite Spike Lee movie. This is my favorite Cameron Crowe movie. Like I like it better than Almost Famous. And Cameron Crowe is a great filmmaker, and this is the embarrassing part. And I will couch this by saying, at the time I was living in Pennsylvania, and I was really bored a lot of the time. But Jerry Maguire is the movie that I have seen the most in a theater. I saw it a lot in the theater. But it's one of those things, it moves you, it puts you in a good place. It has a happy ending. So yeah, so that's my number 5.
So if you don't mind me asking, what part of PA?
The northeastern part, basically. What's that?
No,
that's northwestern.
But it's more like Hazleton, all kind of good stuff.
Yeah, not far from there.
I'm born and raised in Philly. I went to high school in Hershey, PA. Yeah.
Yeah, you know the area. Yeah, I was 2.5 hours from Manhattan and 2.5 hours from Philly.
Yeah. All right. Casey, you're number 5.
All right, so sticking with the Tom Cruise motif, I'm going to go with the all-star casted movie, A Few Good Men. I think it's probably easily one of my top 3 favorite Tom Cruise movies of all time, with Jerry Maguire being in there as well. But both of those being the 2 movies from the 90s, with the other one being the original Top Gun. But I mean, in my opinion, there were just amazing performances by top to bottom. Jack Nicholson. I mean, everybody has seen the clip of the big courtroom scene at the end of the movie.
You can't handle the truth.
Yeah, exactly. Him and Cruise building up to it and then going at it, screaming at each other. And I mean, and I'm not a huge Tom Cruise fan to begin with. So the fact that I'm even willing to give him credit for awesome performance, says a lot for me. But it's one of those really good movies, and it was probably the first movie that made me realize that there may, nothing against the United States military, but there may not be sunshine going on in our military, and be shady shit going on behind the scenes. Not saying legitimately that it is happening by any stretch of the imagination, because I don't know. I've never been in the military, but
don't cancel us or me for what he says. The thoughts and
thoughts and opinions shared by Casey are those of Casey.
Right.
I mean, yeah, it's a great movie, and it can be very thought provoking at the same time. So we'll leave it at that.
All right, Chris, number 5.
Number 5 is a very dear and sentimental. Hold on, let me fix this. I'm good.
Good.
All right, so my 5 is it's a movie that touched my heart, man. It is a all-star cast of strictly women, and this set it off.
Set it off. I know it.
Kimberly Elise, Jada Pinkett Smith, Vivica Fox, Queen Latifah. How could I forget Queen Latifah? It was just a all-star cast, man, and it shows what people will do when they have nothing else to give. Like when they have nothing left, when they feel they have nothing left in this world, and they need, to put food on the table, they're willing to risk hell and high water to provide for their families and to provide, for themselves and make a better way and a path for themselves, albeit illegal. However, it's about friendship. It's about camaraderie. It's about women empowerment. Women can do the same things that men could do, whether it be, illegal or legal. So it's one of my favorite movies of all time. That's why it's in my top 5. And I think that it really pulls at the heartstrings, and especially when Kimberly Elise is like she pulls out and she really doesn't want to do the job.
I need that money.
I need that. Yeah, so
I need that money
because she's doing it for her kid. Man, she had a little kid. So it was a really good, but the most climactic moment of the whole entire movie, of course, is Cleo sitting in that tunnel, and she in the car, and to save everybody else, and for everybody else to get away, and for her to sacrifice herself for her friends and for the greater cause. It's very heartwarming.
Okay, so I love Set It Off. Cleo's one of the saddest deaths in hood history outside of
and
Ricky.
One of the greatest soundtracks too.
Oh, great soundtrack as well. My number 5 to me is the best gangster movie of all time. Nobody's going to agree with me at all. I'm not just saying that right now. Nobody's going to agree with me. However, though, to me, it's the best gangster movie of all time. I could watch it. I know it word for word. I know all the quotes. New Jack City. New Jack City is to me, it's the greatest gangster movie of all time. I love that movie. Rockabye Baby. I see you. I want to be you. Be you. Like, oh my God, I love it. And it had one of my favorite quotes, not quotes, but favorite scenes when Ice-T says, "I want to shoot you so bad, my dick's hard." Do you know how? do you know how bad you want to shoot somebody to get aroused from it? So yeah. So listen, New Jack City is number 5. I love that movie with a passion. So yeah, that's number 5. Casey, give me number 4.
My number 4 is one favorite horror / drama movies. Won an Academy Award for Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Director, and it is the Anthony Hopkins classic Silence of the Lambs. I think for a movie that actually can claim to win all 5 of the big Academy Awards, that doesn't just happen on a yearly basis. For somebody to come out and actually take director, actor, actress, and I think screenplay was the other one that it took. A lot about the and anytime I see Anthony Hopkins in anything, to me, he'll always be he's so ingrained in the back of my head as being Hannibal Lecter. It's like even if he's popping in as Thor's father, I still hear, well, hello, Clarice, and it's like that's not even the same freaking franchise, but
right.
I mean, he delivered such an amazing performance that he literally etched that performance in the back of my head as such a memorable, iconic performance. So I can't list off my top 5 favorite 90s movies without paying tribute to Sir Anthony Hopkins.
It rubbed the lotion on the sink and lets to get the hose again. I love it. All right, Chris, number 4.
My number 4 is a comedy. It's one of my favorite movies, and that's Men in Black, starring Tommy Lee Jones, Will Smith. It's a great movie, man. It's an action, and to know, like, I read Will Smith's book, right? So to know the ins and outs of him not actually wanting to do the movie, and actually Tommy Lee Jones not wanting to do the movie, and because it was written for somebody else. The movie was written for, I think, Dan Aykroyd and somebody else, and them coming together and just making comedic genius. And it won a bunch of awards: best science fiction film and best makeup and stuff like that. But we all going to know the most iconic thing in Men in Black, and that's the song that is the second most played song in the world. So Will Smith has 2 songs that's been played the most in the entire world, and that is Men in Black, and that is the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air theme song. And yeah, man, here comes the Men in Black. And it's definitely a sample from I forget who it was. I don't know if it was Atlantic Star or who has the original, but that's my number 4, Men in Black.
All right, so my number 4, and it's gonna make Brad happy. My number 4 is House Party. My number 4 is House Party. Listen, House Party is fucking underrated, amazing. Underrated, amazing. From the slang to the clothes to rest in peace to
Robin Harris.
Robin Harris, who actually helped write it.
Right, correct.
The dancing, the rapping, the style, culture. One of my favorite movies of all time, actually. Definitely one of my favorite movies in the 90s. Me and my brother know that Ken played dance down pack. Down pack. I'm not gonna do it no more because I'm definitely a little old and stale right now. But we used to know the whole time. So definitely House Party number 4, and it's fucking amazing. All right, Brad.
Well, but and the thing about House Party for me, one of the things that really makes it one of my favorite movies too is, I mean, as a white kid who grew up in the country in Pennsylvania, I didn't have any exposure to Black culture at all, like literally at all. And that movie gave me just enough insight into Black culture, but it was presented in a way that the story was so universal that it made sense, and it opened up a whole new world for me. And that's how I came to appreciate art created by other cultures in a way that I hadn't been able to before. So for me, House Party is one of the most important movies that I ever saw. And it also created a bond with one of my best friends from college because he was a huge House Party fan. And we ended up being best friends. That was what we first bonded over. That and Transformers the movie, weirdly enough, were the 2 things that we bonded over. But yeah.
Did you dance with him?
Not with him. I did, however, my friend Frank and I did practice it in his driveway. We even had, I hope the tape got burned, but we even had a video camera out there. It took us a while, but we finally got it. I don't know. I can't say that it was necessarily elegant, but it was at least technically correct. We got the steps in. But so my number 4 is, it's a movie that is about to be rebooted. and I am deeply concerned. It's one of those that I knew was going to happen, but I'm sure I'll see it, but it's going to hurt my heart to see it. And that is the 1998 superhero movie, Blade. Now, Blade is absolutely one of my favorite superhero movies of all time. I honestly believe that it is better than anything that the MCU has put out. And I like a lot of the stuff that the MCU has put out. Again, I talk about moving parts that move well together. Everything about that movie worked. You had the perfect star in the perfect setting, right? It had just enough grimdark. They did some really good world building, the lore that they had established, and they got that lore across to you in a way that felt organic. And it wasn't just people standing there, oh, well, this is how vampires work. No, the way that the story played out was absolutely perfect. You had great villains in Stephen Dorff, and Donald Logue as his henchman was hilarious. Everything about that movie is fantastic. And I guess I should put some trust in Kevin Feige to do a good job with the reboot. But I don't see how you can top that version of Blade. It's one of those things like, can you realistically top the Judy Garland version of The Wizard of Oz? Right?
Yes.
And
Wiz.
I was going to say that but that's the question. Can you execute on a Blade reboot the way that they did with The Wiz? And I think you would have to, realistically, you would have to do the same thing that they did with The Wiz, which is completely reimagine it. Like, don't try to do a Gus Van Sant Psycho and do a shot-for-shot remake, because it's only going to be a pale comparison. But if they take that approach and just completely go in another direction, but the problem is that the other direction Disney would go, because of the way that the MCU works and that it's more family-friendly, I'm sure it's not going to be an R-rated movie.
Definitely not.
Yeah, so they're going to go in that sort of safer direction. So that's the thing. Like, if they could make if the original Blade had been an MCU style movie, and then we found out that there was going to be an R-rated version that was the reboot, then I would be much more confident in it. But it just feels like it's going to fall flat, because not only I think Blade is one of those superhero franchises like Deadpool that really lends itself to that kind of treatment, and it doesn't work nearly as well if you turn it into more of a family-friendly thing. But there's people that are a lot smarter than me and that are much better creators than me that are handling it. So I'll certainly go to see it. But I will definitely have my guard up, because they're treading on sacred ground with Blade, because that is an absolutely beloved movie for me.
So speaking of MCU,
we actually had that conversation about Deadpool the other day on the Sleepless with Amanda, where with Disney picking it up and Deadpool 3 coming down the road.
Deadpool 3 will be it will be R-rated. They already said it will be R-rated. They don't. Disney doesn't like it, but it's definitely gonna be R-rated.
That's my concern, though, is the mouse. And does Mickey's opinion carry any weight going forward with? I mean, I hope that they let the gloves come off, and even, Deadpool, Blade, whatever, they let those be what they need to be, because they have to be dark, and edgy, and they have to push the envelope. If you pull back any on either of those two franchises, you may as well just say fuck it and not just let the franchises lay as dead.
So I said this yesterday, and I posted it on my Twitter and all social media. Kevin Feige, ever see this? Before you cast X-Men, there's no better Bishop than DeAndre Robinson. There's no better. This is Bishop. This is Bishop. And listen, I might have to do some crunches, but listen, this is Bishop. All right, that's all I'm saying. I mean, I would dye the gray hair a little bit. Listen, but this is Bishop right here. All right, there's no better Bishop than DeAndre Robinson. Hit me up. With that being said, Chris, number 3. Chris, is there? All right, well, I'll go number 3 because he has technical difficulties. My number 3, me and CJ, before I met CJ, we thought this was a biopic. I thought it was a biopic. It's not. It is a story of a music group, but definitely not a biopic. This is The Five Heartbeats. The Five Heartbeats is one of my favorite movies of all time. And when I say that I know this movie from start to finish, I know this movie from start to finish. I know word for word. I know every song. I know the psychology of it. Robert Townsend was amazing in this movie. Shout out to Robert Townsend in his other movies from the 80s, like Hollywood Shuffle and some other movies I've got. But I love this movie with a passion. I know this word for word, know every song. My mom even named my brother, nicknamed us after this movie. I was JT, my little brother was Duck. And little behold that we actually turned up to be those two guys actually a little bit too. So yes, those two movies. I mean, Five Heartbeats is amazing. I love the Five Heartbeats. That's number 3. Brad, what's number 3?
So my number 3, I'm a big Star Trek fan. Anybody who follows me on social media knows that I'm a big Star Trek fan. So again, this is one that comes down to favorite versus best. My favorite Star Trek movie is Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country, which came out in 1991. It was the perfect send-off for the original crew. And it was one of those movies that just worked. It had just the right amount of nostalgia bait. The characters were extremely comfortable in their skins. It hasn't necessarily aged as well as maybe it could have, because it was a really hard allegory for the fall of the Berlin Wall and the fall of communism and that kind of thing. So that aspect of it doesn't hit quite as hard as it did in 1991. But I think that so much about this movie works so well. And again, it's almost like Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, where they literally rode off into the sunset and it was the perfect send-off for those characters, and then they decided that it wasn't the send-off for those characters.
My point exactly. They did something else really fast.
Exactly. It's like, well, and it was almost the same thing, because at the end of Star Trek 6, they did the space version of riding off into the sunset, and then Star Trek Generations came out, and that movie is Voldemort to me. I do not like to speak the name of Star Trek Generations. Like my mouth starts to burn when I talk about it. But Star Trek 6, that's one I can watch over and over. And there's a lot of great moments, like Shatner, when Spock says they're dying, and Shatner goes, "Let them die." It's such a great Shatnerian kind of thing. And not coincidentally, Nicholas Meyer is the director and the creative force behind that one. And of course, he was also the guy who wrote and directed The Wrath of Khan. So the two best Star Trek movies were created by the same guy, and also the guy who got the best 2 performances in the series out of William Shatner, because he was the guy who figured out how to rein him in and how to get a more normal performance out of him. You compare and contrast that with Star Trek V, which obviously Shatner himself directed, and it was every excess that William Shatner can possibly indulge himself in was on full display there. And then you come into Star Trek 6, and Nick Meyer's back in the center seat, and you see what Shatner as an actor is capable of. And also working with Christopher Plummer. You talk about Anthony Hopkins as a guy who, no matter what he's in, you're going to get a great performance, and he's going to give his all. Christopher Plummer is a guy like that too. There's a movie called Star Crash that came out in the 70s. Terrible movie, genuinely terrible. One of the worst movies I've ever seen. Christopher Plummer is in it, but man, that dude gives his all in that movie. It's David Hasselhoff's film debut. That should give you a hint as to the quality of that movie. But Plummer is great, and he and Shatner are old acting buddies from Canada, so they have a great rapport already. It's a movie that fires on all cylinders, and it was a great way to end that original series movie run.
Okay. And Casey, number 3.
So now we're getting into the Stephen King portion of my top 5 list, and
all 3 Stephen King movies.
Not all 3, but spoiler alert: this could possibly be a finals matchup coming up on my completely filled out bracket for our episode that we have coming up in a couple weeks.
Okay,
may not be, but it possibly could be. But number 3 is the Frank Darabont classic, The Shawshank Redemption. So to me, the story itself is amazing. You get, obviously, classic performances from Tim Robbins and the great Morgan Freeman. You can't. It's one of those movies that everybody pigeonholes Stephen King as the horror guy, but the horror of Shawshank Redemption isn't in a supernatural entity or a rabid dog or a maniacal car. It's in the horrors of being imprisoned in one of the worst prisons in the country, wrongfully imprisoned, and how you deal with and live your life day to day and try and get by. And ultimately how you either get busy living or get busy dying. One of the two. So, awesome movie. And this was the one that I was really going back and forth on whether I wanted this to be my number 2 or whether I wanted my number 2 to be my number 2. So we'll get to my number 2 in a hot minute when we get to that point. But yeah, Shawshank Redemption is a great movie.
Okay. So my number 2, is, and I asked Chris because he has technical difficulties to give me his top, and talk me to that later. But my number 2, and I'm not gonna lie, my top 5 is very black. It is what it is. I mean, I grew up in the hood of Philly. That's most movies I watched. So my number 2 is a parody of all hood movies, and it is "Don't Be a Menace to South Central While Drinking Your Juice in the Hood." To me, and I love "I'm Gonna Get You Sucker." I love Scary Movie, and that's probably the top 2 parody movies as well. Outside "Don't Be a Menace," but "Don't Be a Menace" to me is the best parody movie of all time. It really is. It's freaking hilarious. Now, it won't be funny to you if you haven't watched all the hood movies that's in the title, but it is freaking hilarious. Like, it is one, and I'm not the biggest Wayans Brothers fan, but it is freaking funny as all hell. So, "Don't Be Missed Such Much Drinking Juice in the Hood" is my number 2. Chris, you're back on.
I'm back.
All right, gear number 2.
Sorry for the technical difficulties. Oh damn, y'all on number 2.
Yeah.
My number 2 is going to be Toy Story. What can I say about the movie, man? We I've cried during the movie. I don't know if you've cried during the movie, but
no.
You've never cried during Toy Story?
I never cried during Toy Story.
Bastard. But man, this is a great movie, man. It's funny, it's hilarious, certain parts, but the deeper meaning to it is just amazing. It's about friendship, man, and a kid, a bond with his toys, and what I actually think goes on in my house when I'm not around or I'm asleep. You can't tell me. My grandmother used to have these life-size China dolls, and she used to have them in the corners of the house. And when I would leave the room from where they were, you can't tell me those things didn't move, because when I would come back, they would be standing in a different position. Like, these are the things that I think goes on in my house, in my mind. Or like when you have to turn the light off and you got to run upstairs because you think somebody's chasing you. Like, but back to Toy Story. It's a great movie, man, and that's my number 2.
All right, Casey, number 2.
My number 2 is the other Stephen King movie on my list, the other Frank Darabont movie from the 1990s, the Tom Hanks, Michael Clarke, Duncan, amazing movie, The Green Mile.
Oh, you're going to hate this first round matchup. Go ahead, though.
Oh, I'm sure I probably am going to. But, okay, so I will preface this with saying I don't necessarily think Tom Hanks's performance in this movie was his best of the 90s. But to me, that entire movie was completely stolen by the from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie by Michael Clark Duncan. I think he nailed that character beat by beat throughout the entire movie. And I'm one of those people that if you can deliver a performance that genuinely, I've seen this movie 100 times, and still at the end of this movie, every damn time I watch it, I will freaking ugly cry when they strap him in the chair and Tom Hanks is going to put the hood on him and he's breathing heavy and he's got tears in his eyes and he's like, please, boss, don't put me in the dark. And it's like your heart's being squeezed in a freaking vice. And it's like, oh my freaking God, because you know he's not guilty. But at the same time, it's like he's tired of being what he is, and he's tired of traveling the world and seeing the pain and the ugliness that he's seen, and he's done and over with it, and he wants to be free, and it can't happen soon enough. But at the same time, there's still that humanistic quality. Like, he's very childlike, and in that sense that, you know, still after all these years, he's still afraid of the dark. So
that's one of those movies that I wish I had seen at home first, but I saw it in the theater when it came out, because I think I cried so hard my face hurt when I saw that. I mean, like Barry Pepper, I remember in that scene, he's crying, his face is just soaking wet because he's crying so hard, and Tom Hanks is like, hold it together, dude. That's how I was. I mean, it was one of, like, you're trying not to go as you're crying so hard as you're watching it. It is so powerful. It's beautiful.
All right, Brad, number 2.
So number 2, I'm going to go in a completely different direction. But I am going to continue on. My number 4 was a superhero movie. This is also a superhero movie. And I think it wasn't a hit at the box office. It's gained a little bit of cult status in the intervening years. But I think the problem with it was a little bit ahead of its time, because it was, in a way, a satire of superhero movies before there were enough superhero movies for people to have a strong appetite for a somewhat parody of a superhero movie. So that movie is 1999's Mystery Men. So that stars Ben Stiller, who's a guy that I like. His dad is a Syracuse guy. His dad went to Syracuse like I did. I've liked a lot of stuff that Ben Stiller's been in. Something About Mary. So many things he's been in over the years. Night at the Museum, that I've liked over the years. But it's a fun movie. It skewers superhero tropes. I guess if you're a big comics person, maybe it appealed to you. The character that Ben Stiller played in this movie, I loved, because I have been known throughout my life to have a little bit of a temper that I'm not proud of. That it's something I've been able to be a lot better about in the past 25 years or whatever. But
can you move cars, me and Matt?
I cannot lift a bus by myself when I'm angry. Unfortunately, now if I wouldn't have worked on it as hard if I could have, though. But the fact that he has this anger power that is completely ineffectual and doesn't really accomplish anything. I think I looked at that and thought, well, that's kind of like when I get angry. That's kind of how I am. Not quite as demonstrative as Ben Stiller was, but I think that it might have led to some personal growth. But there are some great characters in there. Hank Azaria, William H. Macy, Janine Garofalo, Dane Cook has a bit part. Doug Jones, who was in Shape of Water, and he's in Star Trek Discovery, and he's in What We Do in the Shadows. There's a lot of people with small roles in there, as well as the main cast that are great. So it's a great cast. It's a really fun story, and it does skewer superhero tropes in a way that I think the world wasn't quite ready for at the time. Like if it came out in the midst of phase 2 or phase 3 of the MCU, I think people would have gotten it a little bit more. And I did talk to Bob Burden, the guy that created Mystery Men. Flaming Carrot was where that came from. I talked to him about it, and he said, he was like, it was just one of those things. He was happy to be on that ride, but it didn't quite work as a property. But he also didn't compromise his artistic vision, either in the comics or in the production of that show or of that film. So, that's something that I can respect. But that's another movie that I will go back to and I will just watch over and over. And of course, the thing that Smash Mouth will always point out is the song All Star was not created for Shrek.
It was created for a Mystery Man.
It was, yeah, because the video was a Mystery Men tie-in. And boy, does Smash Mouth get upset if you say that movie came from Shrek. It's weird. People like would troll him on Twitter, just like they would mention it because he would search for it. That's a story for another time. But yeah, Mystery Men, great movie, love it. I think it holds up, especially now that we have a little bit of superhero history, and maybe even more now that I think there's a little bit of superhero fatigue with all the superhero movies that we've had over the past 20 years.
Yeah, it does have a cult following. A lot of people out here like that movie more and more nowadays. So I'm gonna go next because mine is obviously, if you can read the name. My number one is my second favorite movie of all time. Forrest Gump is my second favorite movie of all time.
It's a great movie.
Coming to America, Forrest Gump, Harlem Nights. That's the one, two,
Harlem
three.
Nights.
1, 2, 3. All right. Forrest Gump is an amazing goddamn movie. Talking about awards, I mean, the movie got a lot of awards as well for Forrest Gump. Obviously, it's one of Tom Hanks' best movies that he did. There's a lot of backlash of how people feel about Jenny, but I forgot her name, but she played a good Jenny. Like, I mean, the reason why people hate Jenny because she played it so well. The story, you actually believe that, like, Forrest Gump went through all that shit. Like, God of Truth, I thought it's a biopic. I thought this shit was real. I thought this shit was real. I thought Forrest Gump was real. I'm not gonna lie. But it was how it was made, how it was done. Everything in the movie was fucking amazing. So my number one in the 90s is Forrest Gump. All right, Casey, number one.
Okay, so this one's going to be hard because I'm going to try and keep this as brief as possible, but this is probably my number one favorite movie of all time. And for a kid who grew up being a diehard Star Wars fan, this movie came out in 1994 and literally kicked Star Wars in the nuts for me. So to preface this, before this movie was released, I believe it was 8 to 10 days before the movie was finished filming, there was a tragic accident on the set, and the star of the movie was killed by a gunshot to the stomach, which helped create a lot of buzz for people to go and see the movie. And I was one of those people that it created the buzz for. But once I sat down and actually watched the movie, I completely fell in love with the 1994 Brandon Lee mega classic, The Crow. I generally tend to skew my likes towards elements of dark and all that, which The Crow is very heavy in darkness, but there's also a lot of sound lessons that can be learned from different parts of the movie. Him telling Ernie Hudson that little things used to mean so much to Shelley. I used to think they were trivial. Nothing is trivial. I mean, stuff like that. It gets you to realize that, don't take anything for fucking granted, because at the drop of a dime, it can all be gone just like that. And, you'll never get to tell somebody how much how much you love them or how much they mean to you. So, I think, lastly, my opinion on this is, I believe, had he not been shot on the set of, finishing the movie, I think this was definitely a role that could have possibly catapulted Brandon Lee into maybe not necessarily being one of the greatest actors of all time, but I think he had a incredible acting career ahead of him had he had more time to display his talents for the world. So that would be my number one pick.
And Chris, you get the last one, number one.
Y'all said my favorite movie already. My favorite movie actually is it's 1A. It's this movie and then Trading Places are my two top favorite movies of all time. But it's House Party. I love House Party, man. Like I literally have watched this movie at least 300-400 times in my lifetime, man. And at one point in my life, I used to go to sleep to the movie. I know every word. I know, and it's crazy because I've watched it so much that I look for other things in the movie that that doesn't like stand out to everybody else. You know, of course, the all-star cast, man, Tisha Campbell, Martin Lawrence, Kid and Play, John Witherspoon has a cameo in the movie. George Clinton is in the movie. He's my cry took tears in a bucket. Fuck it.
Yeah, that is one of my favorite lines in that movie. He is perfect.
A lot of people don't know, this movie was actually written for Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, Will Smith. But he declined the movie. Will Smith declined this movie, and it actually allowed Kid and Play to, you know, set their trajectory off. Also, you know, in the music, and I forget the brothers, but the Full Force.
Oh yeah, Full Force family.
Full Force.
So that's my favorite movie of all time. I love that movie. When Robin Williams says, he says, I'm from a small town called Fresh Off a Cop's Ass. Like it's like the little quips in the movie, man. That you know, that I love about it. You know, the battle, you know, the even the battle between Kid and Play of who's the best rapper, and you know, when Martin Lawrence was standing in front of Charmaine's window, he's like, Charmaine. And his dad opened the curtain. But it's also like little other things that's in the movie, like the guy from the Five Heartbeats is in the movie, and when they're all in the living room at Shireen's house, and he say, no, my brother, you got to get your own. And he's like, Peanut, fix me some of that Dick. It's so many different cultural little quips in this movie. Dick Gregory had his own weight loss shake at one point.
You know that's real, right?
Yeah, it's real. Yeah,
he actually did have his own weight loss segment. So
yeah,
and I hear it just tastes like death. Like it was gross.
And Dolomite. Robin Harris was watching Dolomite when
like Dolomite,
Dolomite, exactly. Way down in the jungle. Badass. Sanctifiable.
All right.
That motherfucker, can't you see? God damn.
So that was kind of long. I understand that, and I'm sorry.
Hang on.
However,
we didn't talk about my number one, and I promise I'll be quick.
I thought we did. Sorry.
No, we didn't. No, Mystery Men was my number two. So my number one, I'll be quick. It's a movie that had such an effect on me. You know how Top Gun had a big impact on military recruitment, right? Well, this movie had me this close to applying to go to the Naval Academy, the United States Naval Academy. And that's the 1990 Sean Connery, Alec Baldwin classic, The Hunt for Red October. Based on a great book. It's one of those few. It's one of those few movies based on a book that I think you can't say it's as good as the book, but it's about as close to as good as the book as you can possibly be. Taking a book that would have taken, I think they said 8 hours if you made the whole book, the movie, into a 2-hour movie. It was great. It's an absolute classic. Great performances from Sean Connery. Tim Curry is in it and does a great job as the doctor. Sam Neill, Alec Baldwin, who even throws in a Sean Connery impression in the middle of it, which is pretty funny. But it's a classic movie. Extreme tension. James Earl Jones plays one of the best authority figures that you're ever. I mean, he always plays a great authority figure, but in this one, I think this is one of his best authority figure roles as Admiral Greer. So yeah, just it's great all around. It's one of those movies that just it's a good movie if you're in that kind of Tom Clancy mood, and it's my second favorite movie of all time.
Sorry, I thought my math was all off. I thought you hacked number one. It's my fault. My fault, man. So that was our top 5 movies of the 90s that I mentioned. Sorry, it took kind of long. I hope you will go through it and stay with us for a little bit. However, though, I do have a surprise for the listeners. I didn't know they was going to be here, and they are here. I have 2 people from Masturbators here. Dwayne, who loves Brad's podcast.
I do.
All right. And CJ, who's on mute.
Brother CJ.
Brother CJ, who's Chris says look like he's in jail.
Looks like he lives in a halfway house.
All right. So listen. So they know that we're gonna try to go through this. I'm gonna say a matchup. If you have anything to say about it, definitely do. But we're gonna keep it moving. All right. Okay. So this is 104 movies of the 90s tournament. This is the first matchup. Is a play-in. It is Kids 1995 versus Basic Instinct 1992. And Basic Instinct wins by 71% of the votes. I'll go first. I think it's bullshit. Listen. No, real shit. Listen, Basic Instinct has some of the worst sex scenes I've ever seen in my life in the movie. Off the bat, worst sex scene in the movie. And Kids, to me, as I told Chris this, back in PM when I worked for what is called AIC, we used to show kids this movie because this actually happens in some hoods in America actually. Mm-hmm. And it's trust me, it's not for the faint of heart. All right, it touched on virginity, HIV, violence, weed, drugs, all with kids that's from the age of 12 to 17. So again, I don't think a lot of people watch Kids. If you do, again, not for if you can stomach it, you should. But again, I think Kids is an overall better movie than Basic Instinct, me personally. But it is what it is. The next playing game, the last one, is Poetic Justice versus Half Baked. And Poetic Justice won by 52% of the votes. It was very, very close. It was very, very close. It should have been that way. Definitely should have been that way. I mean, Half Baked is a weak movie, and Poetic Justice is Poetic Justice. I mean, it's a really good movie. Even though it was a rapper and a singer acting in it, it should have been that way. All right. Now we get into the actual tournament. We have number 1, Pulp Fiction, 1994, versus number 100, Sleepless in Seattle, 1993. Now, I want to say this right now that I didn't make these rankings. I got all the rankings from Rotten Tomatoes. So if you got any problem with the rankings, wherever anything is, blame Rotten Tomatoes.
Be mad at Rotten Tomatoes for sure.
All right? Be mad at Rotten Tomatoes. All right. We did sprinkle a couple movies in there, but overall, it's just the Rotten Tomatoes list. All right. So now again, Pulp Fiction versus Sleep in Seattle. Pulp Fiction wins by 82% of the overall votes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Oh, go ahead.
No, I don't have a problem with that at all. Yeah. I'm not a huge Sleepless in Seattle fan, and Pulp Fiction's probably my second or third favorite Tarantino movie.
Yeah, I mean, I'm as sappy as they come. I love a good rom-com. I mean, I write a romance audio drama podcast, and I would pick Pulp Fiction over Sleepless in Seattle every day and twice on Sunday. And I like Sleepless in Seattle. I think it's a good movie, but there is no comparison between those two. And that's one. I mean, I saw Pulp Fiction in the theater, and I was just enthralled the whole time. It's a great movie.
So the next matchup. Casey's going to hate. That's what it is. Again, Casey, blame Rotten Tomatoes. So I want to say this right now. Got number 2, Shawshank Redemption, 1994, versus number 99, The Green Mile, 1999.
This is one of those cases when two juggernauts come up against each other, in the seating just does you dirty.
Why is it like the seating is crazy?
Listen, again, blame Rotten Tomatoes. Blame Rotten Tomatoes.
And then later on, we're going to end up seeing something that has absolutely no right being in like the top 16. And you're like, how did this get here? It could have been like, what? And that's just how it shakes out. And it happens to us every time.
I'm sorry, Casey, but that was the first round matchup. And
no, I get it because like, okay, we have like I talked about earlier the Stephen King tournament going on an evening at the movies, and I have people that are completely upset that Children of the Corn upset Dr. Sleep in the first round.
Well, I'm not, because I love Children.
No, you're not. Harvey's not, but I've gotten messages from people. It's like, how the hell could Children of the Corn beat Dr. Sleep? It's like, dude,
why Children of the Corn? Children of the Corn's amazing.
Children of the Corn is a great movie. I figured that was going to be one of those ones that was going to be splitting hairs between who was going to win. And it was. It was probably the closest one of the first round. But, yeah, and God.
I mean, this matchup is one where if it was an NCAA tournament selection show and it was a matchup like this, you would look at that and go, they purposely put those two teams together because they wanted to get ratings. Like it's that kind of a matchup because
that would be like putting Duke versus North Carolina in the first round.
In the first round, right? Yeah.
And
so
wow.
So Shawshank Redemption did win by 69% of the votes.
I figured with that matchup it was going to be close. I figured it was going to be a little bit closer, but I figured that's probably in about the right window. And it can't be wrong. I mean,
well, I mean, the thing about Shawshank is it's Shawshank is rightly considered one of the greatest movies of all time.
Yes.
So I mean, I could 100% believe if it was a blowout win with like Shawshank getting 80%, but I could also believe it being a lot closer, like you were saying, because Green Mile, like we talked about earlier, it hits people in a certain kind of a way, and I think that engenders people thinking, well, yeah, like they may remember, almost like people thinking about Citizen Kane, right, which everybody considers one of the greatest movies of all time, but it's this sort of like inscrutable thing off in the distance, like a piece of art or something. But Green Mile, you remember how Green Mile made you feel. So I could have also seen it being a lot closer. This was a heck of a matchup.
Yes.
And I
well, I was just gonna say one more thing really quick, but like when we talked about Tom Hanks in July on an evening at the movies, and one of the movies we did was Forrest Gump, and while doing the research for that, I actually found that the Hollywood Reporter actually re-polled like 100 different people from the Motion Picture Academy that votes on the Academy Awards. And those people agreed that the year Forrest Gump won Best Picture at the Academy Awards, that Forrest Gump actually should have came in second place to the Shawshank Redemption. If they re-voted today, that Shawshank Redemption would have beaten Forrest Gump.
We don't need a revote.
I think it's a classic, the teacher versus the students, and Morgan Freeman and going against, Michael Clark Duncan and what's his name?
Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks. So, Morgan Freeman's probably forgotten how to act in certain aspects of his life. I think he was born at 89 years old. He's got older. There's no pictures of Morgan Freeman below the age of 40 on the internet. I don't even think he existed at one point, but that's a tough matchup.
I think Morgan Freeman is actually Jimi Hendrix.
But
Jimi Hendrix didn't die, and if you look at young pictures of Jimi Hendrix, you can draw the line directly to Morgan Freeman.
Going back talking about that revote for the Academy Award, I can actually see that, because my friends that are members of the Academy, the way that they look at things is, I think they look at greatness, right? Like they look at things through that lens. So I can see why they would consider Shawshank a greater film than Forrest Gump. Like, look, it just from that, it's not a super artsy way to look at it, but I think the criteria that they use, which is why you so rarely see the #1 box office movie win Best Picture. You know, the lens they look at it through is a little bit different. So I can understand that, even though I would say Shawshank Redemption for me is the better movie of those two, but Forrest Gump, going back to that, is the more enjoyable movie to watch, and I think they look for better versus more enjoyable.
All right, next matchup. Number 3, The Lion King, 1994, versus number 98, The Rock, 1996. Actually, on Twitter, this was dead 50-50 split. On Twitter.
What?
That's surprising.
On Twitter, it was a dead 50-50 split.
I've never heard of The Rock.
Oh, The Rock is a Nicolas Cage and Sean Connery.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
However, though, on Facebook, The Lion King wins by 54%. Sorry, Lion King won on Facebook by 59% of the votes, which means The Lion King wins by 54% of the votes.
Wow, that's a lot closer than I would have expected.
Wow.
Yeah. So that happened. Oh, sorry, give me a minute.
Yeah, Lion King should whoop The Rock.
Yeah, it should. I mean, and kind of like I was talking about before with Sleepless in Seattle. I mean, I love The Rock. It's a romp. You get Sean Connery chewing scenery. You got Nicolas Cage being Nicolas Cage. The plot is completely ridiculous. You have Ed Harris as this insane mustache twirling villain. It's a blast, literally. But but The Lion King is a classic. I mean, that is one of the greatest animated films of all time. And I mean, you could argue that it's one of the greatest films of all time.
Yeah. So here's what made me happy. I know it's gonna make CJ happy. I don't know about anybody else, but this made me happy as hell. This is an upset, I'm not gonna lie. And I think this was one of Chris's top 5. We had number 4, The Titanic, 1997, versus number 97, Men in Black, 1997. And Men in Black wins by 60% of the votes. Men in Black won
As it
by
should.
60% of the votes. Earlier today, I sent out this on some chats and on my reel about when we talked about the Titanic earlier in our podcast career, and I fucking hate this movie. I fucking hate this movie with a fucking passion. I hate that movie with a damn passion. And I said that how for 3 hours, this I'm not calling it bitch this time, but this lady for 3 hours told this fucking story. And they was trying to find this blue heart-shaped herb, whatever that shit's called. All right. And this bitch had it. This lady had it the whole time. This lady had it the whole time. 3 hours from my goddamn life.
She was a con artist, man. Like the deeper meaning is she was a con artist. You know, she just wanted the attention.
Men in Black wins by 60% of the votes.
I think that Titanic might be a movie that there's been a little bit of a, not necessarily a critical reevaluation of, but like a popular reevaluation of. And I think people are looking back at it and be like, you know what? We got kind of caught up in a wave when this thing came out and you know, the hype machine and everything. And maybe it's not as good a movie as everybody, you know, ourselves included, maybe thought it was at the time. So this is an upset I can understand.
So
there was room enough on that door for both of them.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
He was a con artist.
I think I only like Titanic because of how much DeAndre hates Titanic. Like, really, the major pull for me is just how much DeAndre hates that movie.
I fucking hate this movie. I hate this movie with a passion.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna get hate from Amanda for this, but that movie is pure utter crap.
Paint me like one of your French girls.
And it is not even historically accurate. That was another thing. Like it has nothing. Like those people weren't even on the boat. Like it had nothing to do.
And her telling parts of that story to that room full of people, that must have been pretty awkward. Like some of those steamier scenes. I don't necessarily want an 80-some-year-old woman telling me that story.
Yeah.
Somehow how big that handprint is. All right, next movie. Next matchup. So number 5, The Big Lebowski, 1998 versus number 96, As Good as It Gets, 1997. Actually, on Facebook, this was a 50-50 split. However, Twitter, the Big Lebowski spanked that ass by 72% of the votes, which means the Big Lebowski wins by 61% of the votes.
That's just like your opinion, man.
Yeah. I resisted watching that movie for a long time, and finally there was a girl at Margaritaville that talked me into promising her that I would see it, and I did. And I was glad I did. It's a hell of a fun movie.
Somebody got a dog in the background?
Yeah, hang on.
All right, next matchup. The next matchup, the Blair Witch Project, number 6, the Blair Witch Project, 1999.
How is Blair Witch number 6? That's.
I didn't make these.
We know you went and review bombed it just to change the rankings.
Number 6, the Blair Witch Project, 1999 versus number 95, Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery, 1997. And Austin Power wins by 79% of the votes.
Spank that ass.
Too freaking close, in my opinion.
I liked Blair Witch at the time. When I saw it in the theater, I was tense. Like my stomach muscles hurt at the end of it from the tension. But I think if you're not in that kind of an environment, it loses a lot. Like
it was the first of its kind. It was the first of its kind that reality shot type of movie. People thought it was actually real, at the time. So it set standards in for filmmaking, but it can't stand up to Austin Powers.
Yeah, I agree.
What I will say about the
I laughed my way through most of that movie.
Austin Powers is a better movie. I will say that right now. However, I will give respect to the Blair Witch Project because their budget was $10,000, and they made millions and millions and millions of dollars. Like it or not, they came up. They came up. All right, so I give respect. Respect is due. All right, all right. Number 7, Jurassic Park, 1993, versus number 94, The Boondock Saints, 1999.
Please tell me the Boondock Saints whooped that ass, because that is one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, no, I can't tell you that, buddy.
Oh my
God. The Jurassic Park wins by 70% of the votes.
Boondock Saints is a great.
No, it is. It is.
Movie, man.
But
like,
people love dinosaurs.
And plus, if you, I think that's one of those. If you remember seeing that movie, if you saw it in the theater, if you're old enough to have seen it in the theater, it's that same kind of thing where you remember. Like there was nothing like that to see dinosaurs that realistic on a big screen in front of you. It's it's like I was talking about before. You remember how that makes you feel, and that will make you vote for a movie like that. And I'm not going to disagree with you. Boondock Saints is a great movie, but I think where Titanic hasn't held up over the years to memory, I think Jurassic Park really has. And the reboots with the sequels with Chris Pratt haven't been that great, but that hasn't damaged the legacy of those original movies. I mean, even the 2 sequels weren't that good. The original sequels back in the 90s weren't all that great, and that didn't harm its legacy. People are able to.
I'm a big fan of number 3. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Really?
I'm a big fan of Jurassic Park 3. I am.
The sound editing and sound design for Jurassic Park and the score, I mean, just the audio alone is enough for me to beat Boondock Saints. And I love Boondock Saints.
Yeah.
But that audio is incredible.
All right. Next matchup. Toy Story 2, 1999 versus number 8, Toy Story 2, 1999 versus number 93, A Thin Red Line, 1998. Toy Story 2 on Facebook got 100%. So it wins by 83% of the votes. All right.
Wow.
And I mean that was Pixar didn't do sequels until Toy Story 2, and they resisted for a while even after that. But that demonstrated that property had enough legs to have really good sequels. And I mean, there hasn't been a bad sequel to Toy Story yet.
I'm not gonna lie. I like 4. I wasn't a big fan of 3, but I mean, that's what it is.
4 was better than 3, but I still think 3 was really good.
Yeah.
Number 9, Thelma and Louise, 1991 versus You ready for this, Casey? Number 92, The Crow, 1994.
Do not tell me those two women driving off a cliff. My number
Way to
one
spoil the
favorite
end of the movie.
all
Jeez.
time.
Spoiler alert. All right. On Facebook, it was a 50-50 split.
Oh,
50-50
Jesus.
split. It was on Facebook. It was a 50-50 split.
Thelma and Louise.
However, on Twitter, The Crow won by 56% of the votes, which means that The Crow wins by 53% of the votes.
That's so close.
People have very strong,
We
as
made it out of
Casey,
the first round.
as Casey demonstrates, people have very strong opinions about The Crow.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised, and I don't think people necessarily have strong opinions about Thelma and Louise. I think they did at the time as a women's empowerment kind of vehicle, but that's dissipated over the years. But like my friend Darren, he did a full-on Crow cosplay, and it was amazing. Like, he was super into that movie. So I've seen that, like Casey, like, you know, your level of love for that movie, I've seen that firsthand. So yeah, people feel very strongly about that film. So I'm surprised that it was that close.
So
Okay,
Casey,
I
don't
will
get
say this,
mad at me.
I don't hate Thelma and Louise, but if Thelma and Louise had beat my movie, you would have had to put me on 48-hour psychiatric watch.
So Casey,
I think DeAndre had a lot to do with that, though, because during this whole period, he could not find the movie poster in English to use for
El Crole.
El Cuervo. The entire time was the Spanish movie poster.
So Ghana's truth, Casey, and I hope you come back. I really do. But I'm just gonna say right now, I think The Crow's overrated. I'm sitting there right now. I think that movie's fucking overrated. And what helps it get overrated, and I'm not saying Brandon Lee is not a bad actor. However, though, because he passed away, people put that movie on a pedestal that it should not be. Because Ghana's truth, The Crow is literally just spawned with whiteface. It really is. It's spawned with whiteface.
But what came first, The Crow or Sting?
Sting, I believe Sting.
I thought Sting was around before that movie came out, right?
Well, no, Sting. Are we talking about the wrestler Sting?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, Sting was around since the 80s.
Right. That's what I thought.
But I don't think
Sting
he
was
changed.
around, like,
I don't think he changed over to his black hair and face paint and the Crow face paint until after the movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I
don't know enough about wrestling to know that.
All right. Number 10, The Matrix, 1999, versus number 91, What About Bob, 1991. The Matrix wins by 83% of the vote.
As it should. One of the first movies that the sequel and the movie was shot all at the same time. Broken up into two different movies. So it was a great.
I will say the only thing that I have against The Matrix, and I saw that in the theater, absolutely loved it. I saw it several times in the theater, just a great movie. Only thing I have against it is that there were two sequels. The sequels were awful. Like you can talk about Blade Trinity being a bad sequel. Like, Blade Trinity is Godfather Part 2 compared to the third Matrix movie, and you could even argue the second Matrix movie. I mean, those sequels were terrible.
They were. You 100% right. Here's a fucked up matchup. Number 11, Schindler's List, 1993, versus number 90, American History X.
That is messed
1988.
up.
1988. All right. It's a very, very fucked up matchup. I'm just gonna say it. I mean, but again, thank you, Rotten Tomatoes, because they did it. But Schindler's List wins by 66% of the votes. All right.
Now I'll say real quick, right around the time that Schindler's List came out, I was in college, and I had a class called World at War, which is about World War I and World War II, mostly World War II. We saw a movie called Night and Fog by Elie Wiesel, which is a documentary about the concentration camp. So right around, I think I saw Schindler's List a little bit after that. But seeing the reality of it in Night and Fog and then seeing it dramatized in Schindler's List, I think for me at least made Schindler's List hit much, much harder. And you talk about kids, right? If you feel you are up to it, I very highly recommend seeking out Night and Fog, but it is extremely graphic and disturbing and horrible. So I want to throw that out there, but it's also very important, and it doesn't sugarcoat what happened in reality in there. So yeah, it'll hit hard and it'll hurt, but it's important enough that if you feel that you can emotionally take it, that it's something that I recommend people that anybody seek out to understand just how there are not even words for how grotesque, awful, horrible that was.
Yeah, that one is a tough watch.
Yeah. I don't want my stomach to hurt. All right, so
it would.
Next matchup, number 12, Fight Club, 1999, versus number 89, Three Kings, 1999. Fight Club wins by 90% of the votes.
As it should.
Three Kings. It should. No, it probably actually should have been bigger. Actually, no, kind of true. But Three Kings, if you watch it, wasn't a bad movie.
No,
it wasn't a bad movie. Yeah. So, all right. So here's one of the closest matchups there was. Number 13, Friday, 1995, versus number 88 From Dusk Till Dawn, 1996. God honest truth, both Twitter and Facebook was 50-50 split. Both. However, though, I had to go by decimal. Now, if everybody doesn't know, I do round up and down, just make it easier for me. But I had to do this by decimal. And by decimal, Friday wins by 50.5%.
Wow.
Okay.
Whoa.
Okay. Now, mine is probably a little different. However, though, like I said, I only round up to the 0.5. So Friday wins by 50.5% of the vote.
Wow.
Okay.
I mean, you can't go wrong with either movie. I mean, both of those movies
No,
are.
not at all.
Yeah.
Either one wins, and I'm really not mad about it. They're comparable in entertainment, I think, value to me. Which, yeah.
All right. Number 14, Clueless, 1995, versus number 87, A Nightmare Before Christmas, 1993. A Nightmare Before Christmas wins by 56% of the votes.
As it should.
And Amanda is now on 48-hour psychiatric watch.
Clueless, I'm not gonna lie, Clueless was a cultural phenomenon, man.
As if
with the language and the girls dressing like the girls from Clueless, like that was a cultural phenomenon, which is very shocking.
And they turned it into a musical.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. So CJ has technical difficulties. I wish he was here so I could see his face with this one. But number 15, Terminator 2, Judgment Day, 1981, versus number 86, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, 1998. CJ loved Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, but it got its ass whooped by 74% of the votes. Terminator 2 wins.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, Terminator 2 is it can be argued that it's the best Terminator movie.
Oh, there's no argument for me. That is the best Terminator movie. Well, there's no argument for me.
I've seen some arguments for T3, but I personally, and I'm just saying, I'm not saying those people are right. I'm just saying what I've seen.
Okay, wrong people. Okay,
yeah, those people are what we like. Those people are what we like to call wrong.
Yeah,
but Terminator 2. I mean, I don't know how that one could have gone any other way.
So number 16, Goodfellas, 1990, versus number 85, Space Jam, 1996. I can't say that with a straight face. However, though,
Space Jam whooped that ass.
No, what? Fuck no. No, it should have been more, but Goodfellas won only by 80% of the votes. I think it should have been way more. I love Michael Jordan like everybody else does, but
terrible acting. The worst acting I've ever seen in my life. I don't know which is worse, him or Shaquille O'Neal. Who acts worse?
Oh, have you seen Steel?
I can't decide if Michael Jordan makes a worse actor or baseball player.
Well, no, he did make contact a few times as a baseball player, but he whiffed 100% of the times that he tried to act in Space Jam.
Oh my
He
God.
was dunking on cartoons. That was about it.
Yeah.
All right. Number 17, LA Confidential, 1997. Versus number 84, Wayne's World, 1992. Wayne's World wins by 78% of the votes. And it got a 97 spot on Facebook.
Yeah, I get it, but LA Confidential is a much better movie.
It is. It really is. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, I liked Wayne's World. It was a lot of fun, cultural phenomenon. Bringing that that term up. I think it's a good one for this one. But yeah, LA Confidential is it's an outstanding movie.
Number 18, Saving Private Ryan, 1998.
Saving Ryan's Private.
I was going to wait till somebody say that. Versus number 83, Hackers, 1995.
Hackers is one of my favorite movies too.
Yeah,
Hackers aged like milk.
Oh, I know it did. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Saving Private Ryan wins by 88% of the votes.
Yeah.
All right. Number 19, Scream, 1996. Versus number 82, Dazed and Confused, 1993. Dazed and Confused wins by 57% of the votes.
Really?
Oh,
It did. And I'm not the biggest Dazed and Confused fan. My partner, girlfriend, mother of my child is about to come. You about to see her soon because she's coming from 2 hours away. She loves this fucking movie. She loved Dazed and Confused. And I do not. I don't know why I'm not a hater of this movie, but I don't like Dazed and Confused. Like I really don't. And people love the like it has one of the most creepiest lines in it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
yeah. That.
Yeah, I got one of those creepiest. I love high school girls.
Yeah.
Like I get older and they stay the same. That's creepy as shit. Like
Yeah.
that's creepy as hell.
Like I mean, I like the movie, but that one line, if they could have just not done that, I would like this movie a heck of a lot more.
Yeah.
All right. Number 20, The Iron Giant, 1999. Versus number 81, Happy Gilmore, 1996.
Happy Gilmore.
And Happy Gilmore wins by 70% of the votes.
I feel like that's because all of our voters have no soul. And they did not cry at the If Iron Giant doesn't make you cry, then you don't have feelings.
I didn't cry, but
yep, you don't have feelings. You're a zombie inside. You're empty inside. You have no soul.
Just saying that did happen. I'm not gonna lie, that happened. Right?
I mean that movie is so good. Vin Diesel made us cry.
Right?
That's how good that movie
will
is.
Never happen again.
It will not.
All right. Number 21, Tommy Boy, 1995. Versus number 80, Never Been Kissed, 1999. Tommy Boy wins by 84% of the votes.
You know, Never Been Kissed it's a pretty forgettable movie.
Yeah.
It is.
Like I guess it was cute at the time, but it's not the kind of thing that had a lot of legs, you know. So I can 100% understand this result.
Number 22, Don't Be a Menace to South Central While Drinking Your Juice in the Hood, 1996. Versus number 79, There's Something About Mary, 1998. Something About Mary wins by 78% of the votes. Fuck these voters.
Do we need to put you on a 48-hour psychiatric watch?
No. And here's the thing. So Something About Mary is a funny movie. I'm not gonna say that. I mean, the hair Joe scene is fucking hilarious.
Something About Mary is the one when his
Yep.
Yes.
stuff
With the beans above the Franks.
Oh,
what about bread fat favor?
Right.
I will say in the defense of Don't Be a Menace, though, I think that the missile launcher scene is probably funnier than all of Something About Mary.
Do
Like,
we have a problem?
I was dead when I saw that. It's so good.
But I think one of the things that you mentioned when you were talking about it earlier is, in order to really get Don't Be a Menace,
You gotta watch all the movies.
Exactly. You have to know those other movies, and I think that creates a barrier of entry that maybe hurt that movie in the voting.
You got number 23, Unforgiven, 1992. Versus number 78, Shakespeare in Love, 1998. Unforgiven wins by 77% of the votes.
Yeah, it's a better movie. I mean, I'm not a big fan of westerns. Like, I don't dislike them, but I won't seek them out. But it was, you know, Clint Eastwood sort of kind of returned to westerns. Sharon Stone was in that, I think. Was that the one? Yeah. And at the time, I know it was extremely popular. And Shakespeare in Love, I know that won Best Picture, and that's one of those that usually gets held up along with Ordinary People as movies that should not have won Best Picture.
Right.
I'm guessing that's for you, Dwayne.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm over here trying to hide behind my my microphone valance and like eat while I'm ducking behind the mic so I don't chew on camera.
Here's what pissed me off, and I think me and Dwayne had a conversation about this matchup. This upcoming matchup. It's number 24, Boys in the Hood, 1991, versus number 77, Braveheart, 1995.
They're so hard because they're so different.
Braveheart wins by 57% of the votes.
Wow.
Again, I think that Boys in the Hood is a better movie.
I agree with that.
Way better movie.
I do. I forgot who I was arguing with. Maybe it wasn't Dwayne, but
no, I don't think you and I argued about this one. There was a couple that you and I were like, no, this is dumb, and dug our heels in on.
But Boys in the Hood to me is a better movie.
Well, Boys in the Hood is a classic, and I think that qualifies as a classic in my opinion. Braveheart was a good movie. I enjoyed it. Mel Gibson, one of his better latter day roles. Excuse me, but Boys in the Hood it's an absolute classic.
Yeah, but Braveheart wins, goes on. Number 25, 10 Things I Hate About You, 1999, versus number 76, The Sandlot, 1993.
Sandlot better whoop that ass.
Yeah, Sandlot. I'm sure Sandlot.
Sandlot better whoop that ass.
Sandlot wins by 75%.
Of course, like 10 Things I Hate About You.
10 Things I Hate About You deserves a little bit of credit for being an under the radar Shakespeare adaptation, though.
Number 26, Hook, 1991, versus number 75, Bad Boys, 1995. Hook wins by 65% of the votes.
What?
Rufio. This was one of the ones that I just heckled DeAndre on because I totally don't think that Hook is a better movie, but I was under his skin for like the next 2 rounds after this.
Hook is nowhere near a better movie than Bad Boys.
What?
Yeah, that's one of those where it's fine. It has a good cast, Dustin Hoffman and Robin Williams, both at kind of the height of their powers. But yeah, I think Bad Boys is a better movie.
Yeah. I mean, Hook's great, and if you have kids, it might be one of the lead-ins to more serious movies. When your kid's like 8 years old, 9 years old, that's a great bridge to more serious topics because somebody actually does die in this movie. And it's done tastefully. But it's not better than
no, it's not. Anyway, next, number 27, Fargo, 1996, versus number 74, Aladdin, 1992, and Aladdin wins by 63% of the votes.
Yeah, I can see it.
I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, I can understand it.
So here's where Twitter and Facebook collided. Got number 28, Groundhog's Day, 1993, versus number 73, Tombstone, 1993. On Twitter, Groundhog Day won by 62% of the votes. On Facebook, Tombstone won by 86% of the votes, which means that Tombstone wins by 62% of the votes.
I'm your Huckleberry.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's a great movie. I loved Groundhog Day. I think it's one of Bill Murray's best movies, but I can totally see Tombstone. It's
for me, really Tombstone is in my top 5. I mean, I just absolutely love Tombstone. This is the movie that really made me love Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
After Top Gun, and
Batman's better. I lied. I couldn't hold that in. I couldn't hold that in.
We gonna have to fight now.
See, Top Secret. Top Secret is the Val Kilmer movie for me.
Oh my god. I never saw Top Secret, so I can't see.
Oh, you should. It's Top Secret's very good.
All right. Number 29, Devil in a Blue Dress, 1995. versus number 72, Casino, 1995. And Casino wins by 88% of the vote.
Wow.
Actually,
great movie.
Actually, Casino won on Twitter by 91% of the votes.
Mm.
All right.
I feel like this one really should have been closer, and I think it was just because people have never seen or never heard of this movie, and I don't know how.
Number 30, Toy Story, 1995, versus number 71, Speed, 1994.
Mm.
Toy Story wins by 65% of the vote.
Yeah, I love Keanu, and I really enjoy Speed, but I mean, this is like Toy Story is like the Pixar movie, so that's
Yeah.
I agree. Number 31, Goodwill Hunting, 1997. Versus number 70, Home Alone, 1990.
Oh, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I'm not gonna lie.
Goodwill Hunting wins by 61% of the votes.
I thought it would be closer than
so did I.
that. But Goodwill Hunting is a better movie. But...
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that was a deserving Oscar winner.
Yes.
Number 32, The Silence of the Lambs, 1991. Versus number 69, Sister Act 2. Sorry, Sister Act 1. Sorry, 1982. The Silence of the Lambs wins by 86% of the vote.
I'm not gonna lie. If that was Sister Act 2, man, I think about the smoke size of the lamb. I ain't gonna lie to you. Think about the smoke size of the lamb.
I'm not gonna lie. If it was Sister Act 2, I would have picked Sister Act 2 over Silence of the Lamb. I'm not gonna lie. Sister Act 1, no. Sister Act 2, I might have to. I'm not gonna lie. But that's what it is. Number 33, Clerks, 1994. Versus number 68, He Got Game, 1998. Clerks wins by 78% of the votes.
Silent. What's his name? Silent J.
Jay and Silent Bob. Full disclosure, I'm a Kevin Smith fan, and I think Clerks is a really, really good movie, but He Got Game's a better movie.
Clerks 2 is better, though.
Thank you. Say with your chest. Say with your chest. Clerks 2 is a funny, probably one of my top 5 funny movies of all time.
You never go ass to mouth.
You never go ass to mouth. That shit is funny as hell. And I can't wait to see Clerks 3. Like they actually having a showing a couple hours from here, and Kevin Smith will be there.
Oh, nice.
So I might go to that. Number 34, Office Space, 1999. Versus number 67, William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet.
Now, before we reveal this, I want to tell you something about this movie. I have never walked out of a movie in my life that I saw in the theater. The closest I ever came was Romeo and Juliet by Baz Luhrmann, and I mentioned Strictly Ballroom, the first of the Red Curtain trilogy. I think that's what he called it. I love Baz Luhrmann. I hated this movie with an absolute passion. So if it wins, you may need to put me on a 48-hour.
I have walked out of one movie in my life, and I was actually on a date at the time in high school, and we looked at each other and went, "You want to leave?"
Okay, well, so you both walked out together. Okay, that's different. I thought you just left me there.
Just like, this movie's terrible, and I don't get it, because we were like 16, 17 at the time, and it was Eyes Wide Shut.
Oh,
and I'm on a date with a girl, and it's like nothing but like a masked like orgy, and we're like, this is awkward because you want to go somewhere else. Yeah, that was the only time I ever walked out of a movie.
So Brad, you might hate me. I'm gonna say this right now, and she's right. I'm saying right now, you might hate me for this. This is my favorite Leonardo DiCaprio movie. Shakespeare Romeo and Juliet is my favorite Leonardo DiCaprio movie. However, though, it did lose by 77% of the votes.
Damn.
Now let me be on record. I like Romeo and Juliet the play. I understand and acknowledge its significant problems, and also the way that it's not properly evaluated by people, and people think that it's a beautiful love story, which it absolutely is not.
It's not. It's a tragedy.
Yeah, exactly. It is called The Tragedy of Romeo and Juliet, and I actually did an online production of it a few months ago, where I played Mercutio. And by the way, Mercutio, the only character that I actually liked.
Death to all your houses.
Yeah, that was the only performance in that version of it that I enjoyed.
All right. Number 35, Pretty Woman, 1990, versus number 66, The Crying Game, 1992. Pretty Woman wins by 90% of the total votes.
Like, just, man, this is another one of those. You take two juggernauts and you put them against each other, and I can't be mad at either winner.
Yeah.
Number 36, Heat, 1995, versus number 65, American Beauty, 1999. Heat wins by 53% of the votes.
That's close.
He should have blew it. It should have been a way bigger gap than that.
Yeah, that's what I would have thought.
Actually, on Facebook, American Beauty won.
I mean, American Beauty, I think it's a really good movie, but you get the issues with Kevin Spacey that are going to make people not want to vote for it, and then also some of the themes in it are a little dicey.
Hard to watch.
Yeah. So that's why I would have expected it to be a bigger margin than that.
Number 37, Glengarry Glen Ross, 1992, versus number 64, The Last Action Hero, 1993. The Last Action Hero wins by 74% of the votes.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
Wow.
Twitter was 62% for Last Action Hero. Facebook was 86% for Last Action Hero.
And this is one of those weird rounds that lets a movie that really isn't that good get like a free pass into a later round, and you're like, how? How does that?
I mean,
how did it happen?
I mean, I think Last Action Hero is underrated because it got eviscerated when it came out. But I didn't think it was that bad. I didn't think it was great or anything, but I didn't think it was as bad as everybody was slamming it for. But Glengarry Glen Ross, I mean, that's David Mamet. Yeah. It's a classic play, and the screen version is good. I mean, the cast is fantastic. The story is true. I don't mean it's a true story. I mean, the story is the same as it is in the play. Like, it's not a weird adaptation or anything. Wow, that's really surprising.
Number 38, Leon the Professional, 1994, versus number 63, Independence Day, 1996. Independence Day wins by 67% of the votes.
Yeah, I can see it.
And before I go that was route, I know Harvey going to hear this because he's a big Will Smith hitter. Ha ha. All right. Number 30.
That started Summertime Will, though. You know, every summer it was a box office smash. You know.
Number 39, Boogie Nights, 1997, versus number 62, Point Break, 1991. Point Break wins by 52% of the vote. Now, Boogie Nights did win on Twitter by 62% of the votes, but Facebook, Point Break won by 67% of the votes. So overall, Point Break wins. I will say this right now: Point Break is overrated. I fell asleep twice when I watched the movie. I fell asleep twice. I tried to stay up. I went, okay, let me try it again. All right, monster this time, and it's overrated.
I wonder how much of. I mean, I liked it. It's not one that I will seek out to go watch again, but I know I enjoyed it when I watched it. But I always wonder how much of that is because I like Keanu. You know, it's one of those kinds of things where I think it's more the fact that I enjoy him as an actor, and that was a role where he gets to be Keanu, which is where he really shines. So yeah, that's
number 40, American Pie, 1989, versus number 61, Mrs. Doubtfire, 1993. Mrs. Doubtfire wins by 53% of the total votes.
Yeah, you know it did.
However, on Twitter, American Pie did win by 58% of the votes. It's just that on Facebook, 65% of people voted for Mrs. Doubtfire. No offense, American Pie is better.
Well,
American Pie is a better movie.
I mean, American Pie definitely had more of an impact. But I guess it's a question of a different kind of comedy style where American Pie really ushered in that kind of over the top teen, the kind of teen sex comedy thing, which I think hadn't really been a big thing since Porky's. I think that was really the last time that was a thing. So it was certainly an important movie from that perspective, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good movie. But Mrs. Doubtfire is it's a better crafted, better written, better acted movie. So if you look at the components, I think Mrs. Doubtfire is better in terms of things that you can go down a list and check off. But American Pie is a blast to watch.
This is also Robin Williams absolutely on fire period when
from start to finish
he touched was just gold. And you couldn't stop the guy. And now that he's passed away as well, I mean, everybody kind of looks at Robin Williams movies and puts them on an even
Big
higher
pedestal.
level than maybe
Yeah.
they should have been.
All right. Number 41, 7, 1995. Versus number 60, Babe, 1995.
Oh,
Thank you. Your wife is cool with me. Anyway, 7 wins by 86% of the votes.
That'll do, pig.
That'll do.
Yeah, that's not surprising. I mean, Babe was a warm-hearted movie that was very well regarded at the time, but yeah, that's seven. Seven is an absolute.
Sorry.
No, it's just 7 is an absolute stone cold classic.
Yeah.
Well, and Babe's too
What's in the
lighthearted
box?
to go up against 7. You
What's
know,
in the box? Sorry.
It was too family friendly to go up against something like 7. It had no chance.
So here's where me, Brad, and Chris will be sad. Number 42, Beauty and the Beast, 1991, versus number 59, House Party, 1990.
I already know where this is going, and I already don't like it.
Beauty and the Beast wins by 63% of the vote.
Yeah,
63% of the votes.
I mean, it's one of those, I get it, but I don't like it.
I don't like it. No, I don't like it at all. At all. All right. Number 43, Edward Scissorhands, 1990, versus number 58, Army of Darkness, 1992.
That's okay. Rip Army of Darkness. I love Bruce Campbell. I am all for all of his movies, but go ahead and just kill him off for me.
Edward Scissorhands wins by 65% of the votes.
But I don't have to like it.
You don't. I love it. Fuck Army of Darkness. I hate that damn movie. Oh God, I hate that damn movie.
The thing about Edward Scissorhands, it's Tim Burton at his most precious, which grated on me a little bit because I mean Edward Scissorhands is Tim Burton, so the movie just came off as so not quite. It didn't quite get to the level. Well, no, it was a little. It was kind of pretentious, but it was just. It didn't do it for me. Although Winona Ryder is great, and I have always loved her in everything that she's in.
Here's the matchup that I despise because where it is. Number 44, The Truman Show, 1998, versus number 57, Forrest Gump, 1994. Now, Forrest Gump did win by 85% of the votes, but I'm on record saying that The Truman Show is my favorite Jim Carrey movie.
Mm-hmm.
And there are so many movies I would love to watch go up against The Truman Show and just get shredded.
Yeah,
The Truman Show is a fucking amazing movie.
Well, I mean that's the movie where we learned that Jim Carrey is. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, like I remember watching that in the theater, going, "Holy crap! This is Fireman Bill from In Living Color, and this guy has chops. Like he's a really, really good actor."
Yeah, so the 2000 movies coming up after the horror movies, and I watched Spotless Mind. For the first time like a couple days ago, and I'm like shit, like like where'd this come from? And I'm gonna watch it to get high because I feel like it'd be better.
Yeah, you watch that movie and then you understand why he grew a beard and stopped talking to everybody. You're like, oh wow, okay.
All right, number 45, Reservoir Dogs, 1992, versus number 56, Face Off, 1997. Reservoir Dogs wins by 68% of the votes.
Yeah, good. I hate Face Off because that was my nickname in basic training because I have a scar on my head.
Oh, jeez.
So, fun fact, Cinco de Mayo, 1982, I had a cyst removed from my brain when I was 20 months old at Dornbecker Children's Hospital here in Portland. Fast forward, 16 years, and I'm at the Fort Benning School for Boys in Fort Benning, Georgia. And that's now my nickname because I have a scar that goes from this ear all the way over and down to here. And what do they do the first day of basic training? Shave your head, right? So now everybody gets to see the stupid happy face scar that comes across my head. They're like, Face Off. And that movie had come out, a year or so before that? I was just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
I didn't mean to laugh, but it was.
It is. Oh, it's hilarious. Now, I actually ran into one of my drill sergeants almost 18 years later in Iraq. And he was like, "Hey, Face Off, what's happening?" I was like, "I ought to whoop your ass."
All right, number 46, The Usual Suspects, 1995, Verse number 55, Swingers, 1986. And the Usual Suspect wins by 81% of the votes.
It has to.
That's a great movie, man. I will go back and watch that movie over and over and
it's
over.
It's a timeless classic.
Yeah,
man. You can watch that over.
I love
the
Usual Suspects. Yeah,
it's a great movie. And the thing is, I remember when I saw that in the theater, and I read like maybe a month ago, the director was talking about it, how they wanted to fool you. And sorry, this is going to be a spoiler for the movie if you don't know already, but that part where Chaz Palminteri is like, Keaton was Kaiser Soze. And I sat there and I like, yeah, that's right. I figured it out. I knew he was Kaiser Soze. And then at the very end, you're like, oh. Like, yep, you just get that hook. You got me.
You got me.
I was like, bravo. You totally 100% got me.
Number 47, Liar Liar, 1997. Versus number 54, Galaxy Quest, 1999. Liar Liar wins by 54% of the vote.
I didn't care about either of these movies. I was like, okay.
Well, as a Star Trek fan, I enjoyed Galaxy Quest because sort of like the Orville is now, it was a nice, it was an homage to Star Trek that was created by people who clearly liked Star Trek. So I enjoyed that aspect of it a lot. And the performances were really good. I thought Tim Allen was good. Sigourney Weaver was great. So I definitely enjoyed that one. Where Liar Liar was fine, but it was one of those Jim Carrey over the top crazy fests that I think by that point I at least was starting to get tired of, and I'm glad he segued into stuff like The Truman Show a year later.
Stuff that's a little more serious, but stuff humor into it.
Yeah,
I got it. Number 48, Transpotting, 1996. Versus number 53, Total Recall, 1990. And Total Recall wins by 84% of the votes.
Yeah, that was one, and Total Recall is amazing. Why would you do a serious reboot of Total Recall?
Don't do another reboot of Total Recall.
Why would you do that?
Serious reboot. Like if they should have just been honest and been like, "This isn't a serious reboot. We're just trying to get your money." And I think more people would have actually gone to watch it if it were more
so bad.
honest.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Two more in this level. 49, The Fifth Element, 1987. Versus number 52, Dumb and Dumber, 1984.
Ooh, this is tough. Leeloo Dallas Multipass.
That's right.
Multipass. The Fifth Element wins by 54% of the vote.
Oh, that's fucking close. Jeez.
And last but not least, last but not least, number 50, The Sixth Sense, 1999. Versus number 51, The Fugitive, 1993.
Oh, Jesus.
The Fugitive wins by 58% of the votes. All right, so we're gonna go round two, but I really gotta pee. So give me a couple seconds.
You know, I wonder how much of the Sixth Sense losing votes was the fact that was almost M. Night Shyamalan's only. Well, it's not his only good movie, but things seem to kind of go down. He started here, and then
like I'm trying to think of another one of his movies that I liked a bunch, and I want to say that maybe what was it, The Village. I think that one was okay.
It was all right. Signs had its moments.
Yeah, Signs I did enjoy.
Yeah, but I think maybe that was because it wasn't really a big twist.
But wasn't Signs also like partially directed by Mel Gibson?
Was it? I mean, he starred in it, so it's possible that maybe he had a creative hand in it, and maybe that's why. But like Lady in the Water, I haven't had a movie tick me off like Lady in the Water because I saw the teaser trailer before another movie. I don't remember what movie it was, but I'm watching this and I'm like just enthralled. Like, this looks amazing. Like this is really captured my imagination. And then I saw the movie. I'm like, this is the worst, most self-indulgent piece of crap that I have seen in a long time, that I paid money to see.
It's weird because I almost want to lump in Shyamalan with directors like Uwe Boll, right? Ooh. Like people that just do like stuff just to be doing it, and I'm like, you're the what you call it, like the Human Centipede, right? You're just like, nope, nobody needed that.
Well, but I think that Shyamalan, though, unlike Boll, I think Boll is a lot more self-aware about what he's doing. Like he does feel that he has an artistic vision, but Shyamalan is way up his own butt about how how clever he is in a way that a guy like Bull isn't.
He's definitely, Shyamalan thinks he's the smartest guy in every room that he's in all the time ever.
And like Shamon.
Yeah, Shyamalama Ding Dong or whatever. I don't know.
All right, sorry about that. Back to round two. So we got number one, Pulp Fiction versus a playing game, Basic Instinct. And Pulp Fiction wins by 83% of the votes.
Damn right.
And you know, it's funny, like the best thing for me about Basic Instinct was the soundtrack. And even that can't compare to Pulp Fiction soundtracks. Pulp Fiction has one of the best soundtracks that I have in my collection.
Yeah.
Shawshank Redemption versus Poetic Justice. Shawshank wins by 91% of the votes. It put up 90 spots on both Twitter and Facebook.
Damn.
I feel bad because I love Poetic Justice.
Yeah, Poetic Justice is not bad. I mean,
it doesn't hurt that
but I mean, I do agree that Shawshank wins there.
The Lion King versus Men in Black. The Lion King wins by 64% of the votes.
That's close to what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, that's another one where I get it, but I don't like it.
I mean, yeah, like Long Live the King. I just, I don't know. I liked Men in Black better. I just Lion King. It's great, right? But
I think I might have liked Lion King better at the time when I saw it the first time in the theater. But Men in Black has vastly more staying power for me. And I mean, I saw Lion King on Broadway even. You know, so I'm into the story. Like I like this. I think it's a good story. Yeah. But even with that in mind, it's Men in Black is just it's an enjoyable movie that has a lot more legs for me.
Right. Yeah. I remember seeing what's it called? The Society of Seven. If you're ever in Honolulu, there's a show called the Society of Seven, and they did a Lion King tribute show where they're all dressed up in costumes, and it's a cool, you know, very Cirque du Soleil kind of thing. But it was really entertaining. But I don't know. I think I actually like that better than I like Lion King.
Okay. The Big Lebowski versus Austin Powers International Man of Mystery. To me, in the upset, Austin Powers wins by 55% of the vote.
It's definitely an upset.
Yeah. Austin Powers was one of those that was super popular at the time, but it hasn't held up over the course of time, whereas Big Lebowski has gotten more popular as time has gone on. Yeah. People have come to appreciate it more.
Jurassic Park versus The Crow. And Jurassic Park wins by 61% of the votes.
That hurts, but yeah, I can definitely give Jurassic Park that win.
Toy Story 2 versus Nightmare Before Christmas. A Nightmare Before Christmas wins by 59% of the votes.
Oh my goodness. Internet, what do you do?
Right?
On Twitter, it won by 53% of the votes.
I wish I had my stream deck plugged up. I'd be goofy.
But on Facebook, Nightmare Before Christmas won by 72% of the votes.
That's crazy.
The Matrix versus Wayne's World. The Matrix wins by 74% of the votes. Okay. Schindler's List versus Dazed and Confused. Schindler's List wins by 54% of the votes.
Ooh, that was close.
That's close.
It's a little closer than I expected there.
So here's another matchup that let's say that Friday versus There's Something About Mary. On Twitter, Something About Mary wins by 53% of the votes.
Okay.
On Facebook, Friday wins by 53% of the votes. So when we had to do the decimals, Friday wins by 50.5% of the votes.
Friday's eking them out here.
Right? So it's the close ones.
Friday.
Terminator 2, Judgment Day versus Braveheart. On Twitter, Terminator 2 wins by 59% of the votes. On Facebook, Braveheart wins by 56% of the votes, which means that Terminator wins by 51% of the votes.
Man,
up and down.
Whoa.
Terminator is so much better than Braveheart, and I say that as somebody that likes Braveheart.
Terminator won, and it won by 51% of the votes.
That's close.
Goodfellas versus the Sandlot. Goodfellas wins by 59% of the votes. Saving Ryan's Privates. Saving Private Ryan versus Aladdin. Saving Private Ryan wins by 51% of the votes.
It's another close one.
That's
Yeah.
close.
There's so much nostalgia, I think, in a certain age group for Aladdin,
Mhm.
and that's
Yeah.
what makes it so close.
Well, what I tell somebody else when they says like 80 movies, 90 movies, I mean, these are all nostalgia movies. Technically they are all
Well, I think
nostalgia.
part of it though is if you were a kid when you saw Aladdin, if you were a teenager maybe when you saw Aladdin,
Yeah.
and you saw Saving Private Ryan at that same time, I think Aladdin's going to hit you in a different way, and you're going to have more nostalgia for it. Whereas if you're a little older, if you're 25 or 30 when these movies came out, then I think you'll have a different opinion.
I remember being frustrated by the Aladdin video game on the Sega Genesis.
It was so fucking hard.
It was impossible. I mean,
you
once you got to trying to get out of the cable wonders on that stupid ass carpet, and then you were done, and you just get mad, you just break that shit, and throw it away.
You just go and go back playing Sonic.
I'm gonna go outside and play with some dirt. This game sucks.
I hit myself in the head with a shovel. It's less painful than this game.
Tommy Boy versus Tombstone. Tombstone wins by 69% of the votes.
Okay.
Well, Johnny Ringo.
Unforgiven versus Casino. Casino wins by 60% of the votes.
I'll allow it.
Hook versus Last Action Hero.
Shouldn't be there.
Rufio.
Hook versus Last Action Hero. Hook wins by 74% of the votes.
Wow.
And then DeAndre was still mad in this round too.
I was still, yeah.
I was posting GIFs on Facebook and everything.
Toy Story versus Independence Day.
Oh, that's a good matchup.
So fucking
damn
hard.
The weird one makes you think.
Yeah.
Independence Day wins by 59% of the votes.
Because Cousin Eddie took out the aliens.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm back.
Good Will Hunting versus Point Break. Good Will Hunting wins by 71% of the votes.
Yeah, that's the right call.
Yeah.
The Silence of the Lambs versus Mrs. Doubtfire. The Silence of the Lambs wins by 71% of the votes.
Wow. I
That's
did not
so
think
hard.
that was so big of a gap.
But it's so hard. Like I love both of those movies, and for very different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Very different reasons.
Clerks versus Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump wins by 75% of the votes.
That could have gone a little bit more lopsided, I think.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think it should have.
Office Space versus Total Recall. Office Space wins by 61% of the votes.
Total Recall.
Office Space holds a special place for me, and I've told you.
Yeah, you said that, but just because you said that means it's good. Total Recall is a better movie.
Office Space literally is Army life. Like it is. Like if you're in the Army, if you're on active duty, like this is your life, and that is the most real thing I think I've ever seen on screen in comparison to my life.
Pretty Woman versus The Fugitive. The Fugitive wins by 61% of the votes. Actually, Pretty Woman did win on Facebook by 51% of the votes. It just got smacked on Twitter by 74% of the votes.
Yeah, I'd like to see the demographic breakdown of these votes because I bet you that the overall voting population on this is probably
Men.
a lot more male.
Yeah.
Because I know Pretty Woman, like you're talking about Office Space holding a special place in your heart. Pretty Woman, I know, holds a special place in a lot of women's hearts that that are of a certain age. So
yeah, my girlfriend loves Pretty Woman. Like when we had our first kid this year, and about 2 weeks after we had a kid, we drove down to California from Oregon, and we went to not Hollywood, but the fancy place in California, Beverly Hills. Yeah, and she made me drive to where Pretty Woman is and take pictures of the street. It was just the street. It wasn't just like it wasn't like we saw like somebody famous. It was literally just a street that she made
Just
take
the
pictures
street corner.
So
when we went to Washington D.C., one of the first times I was ever there, we went to the Exorcist stairs. The stairs at the end of the movie, and I had my wife take my picture there, so I can understand. I can understand where she was coming from there.
All right, Heat versus The Fifth Element.
Multi-pass.
Lilo Dallas.
Lilo Dallas did win by 58% of the votes. Now I will say this though: Heat is an underrated movie.
Yes, it is.
And it shouldn't be underrated. It's like it's weird that it's underrated, but you're right.
It's very underrated.
I saw a guy at a convention in Raleigh a few years ago that did a Chris Tucker from Fifth Element cosplay as Ruby Rod with the leopard print suit and the hair. It was beautiful. It was absolutely perfect.
Hot.
Yeah.
All right, 7 versus Liar Liar. 7 wins by 68% of the votes.
Okay.
Beauty and the Beast versus The Usual Suspects. Beauty and the Beast wins by 51%. By 51% of the votes.
Tale as old as time.
Yeah.
Twitter, 54% went to The Usual Suspects. Facebook, 56% went to Beauty and the Beast.
Wow.
Edward Scissorhands versus Reservoir Dogs. Reservoir Dogs wins by 54% of the votes.
Wow, is that close?
Why do I have to be Mr. Pink?
Yeah. Why can't I be Mr. Purple? Mr. Purple's a guy on another job.
And for our last matchup on this round was a very close one. It's another 0.5. We got Happy Gilmore versus Fight Club. Fight Club wins by 50.5% of the votes. Actually got a truth, another 50-50 split on both of these.
Fight Club has a much deeper brain-teasing story.
It does.
It does.
I mean, on first watch through, did everybody realize,
No.
Like when did you was it when the movie revealed it to you, or did you have that idea going, midway through the movie?
It was at the end.
It had a left field slap you in the face. I mean, that you're like, what? And that's I feel like that's the winner for me.
All right, round 3. Pulp Fiction versus Austin Powers. Pulp Fiction wins by 76% of the votes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
See this trend.
It couldn't be any other way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, on round 4, the very, very top seed gets a bye. So Pulp Fiction was number 1. Next round, it would get a bye. Okay. Shawshank Redemption versus The Nightmare Before Christmas. Shawshank wins by 79% of the votes. The Lion King versus Tombstone. Tombstone wins by 63% of the votes.
Wow.
Somebody walked over your grave.
Yeah, I was just waiting for you to say Lion King because I was thinking they were going to be one of those 12 seeds that makes that Final Four run, even though they have absolutely no business being in there.
That's about the time you're just like, well, yep, I'm out, guys. See you, bye. Click. We're done.
The Lion King is number 3. So technically, Tombstone is the one of the 12 seeds.
Yeah. Which is so weird.
Jurassic Park versus Casino.
That's a good matchup.
On Twitter, Jurassic Park wins by 56% of the votes. On Facebook, Casino wins by 62% of the votes, which means that Casino wins by 53% of the votes.
Oh,
They didn't pop a
damn.
dinosaur's eye out with a vice in Jurassic Park.
That's very true.
True.
The Matrix versus Independence Day.
Ooh.
Independence Day wins by 71% of the votes.
Wow. That's a
Yeah.
much bigger margin than I would have expected.
Wow.
Yeah, I had
I
Independence Day
expect Independence
winning by a
Not
lot
by that much.
closer.
Yeah. Schindler's List versus Forrest Gump.
Ooh, that's another tough one.
Oh my God.
Forrest Gump wins by
Schindler's
70.
List.
Forrest Gump wins by 73% of the votes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
Friday versus The Fugitive.
Don't tell me it's 50.5%.
No. The Fugitive wins by 62% of the votes.
Wow.
Mm.
Well, so here's the thing. I love Friday. Don't get me wrong. I do.
My mama gave me
But-
that chain.
But Tommy Lee Jones and The Fugitive is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Search every
Yeah.
dog house, chicken coop. He's fucking. So I didn't kill my wife. I don't care. Terminator 2 versus The Fifth Element. On Facebook, it was a 50-50 split.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Terminator 2 wins by 58% of the votes.
Damn.
I don't have a problem with that, but yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those matchups where you can't complain either way. I mean,
Yeah.
Fight Club versus Beauty and the Beast. Fight Club wins by
Finally.
65% of the votes.
and you know that's a tough one. But I'm mad at Beauty and the Beast for beating House Party.
Yes.
So, but I think Fight Club is overrated. So it's like, but I would rather I hold grudges, so I'm glad to see Beauty and the Beast get eliminated.
Right. Finally.
Get out of here.
This animated crap. Go away.
Goodfellas versus Reservoir Dogs. Goodfellas wins by 75% of the votes.
Yeah, I mean, I can 100% see that's a tough matchup.
Saving Private Ryan versus Seven. On Twitter, Saving Private Ryan wins by 56% of the votes. On Facebook, Seven wins by 61% of the votes, which means that Seven wins by 52% of the votes.
Wow. Damn, Ryan.
Got Hook versus Office Space. On Twitter,
Oh no!
Yeah.
On Twitter, Office Space wins by 61% of the votes. On Facebook, Hook wins by 66%.
Oh
of the
my
votes,
god!
which means that Hook wins by 52% of the votes.
Why?
The entire.
The internet was a mistake.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
And
find
la-
Al Gore and give him a piece of my mind.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm saying on Al Gore's internet, man.
I invented the internet.
And the last matchup of this round, Goodwill Hunting versus The Silence of the Lambs. The Silence of the Lambs wins by 68% of the votes.
Ooh, that's way too far though. Good
Yeah,
one.
that's another
a
one where
big
I
gap.
would have expected it to be closer.
Just imagine how different it would be with the different seating just in this round alone.
Mm.
Because both of those movies, that's another just juggernauts.
hmm
And
Yeah.
either one of those could beat Hook or Office Space. But
Well,
that's
maybe
just
not.
how
I don't know,
it's
man.
shook out.
Easily.
Hook
Well,
is
yeah, Hook
Hook is like
Hook's going to kill everything.
yeah,
like
Hook's Gonzaga in this thing.
Like, it doesn't die until it dies. It doesn't die until it dies. Damn. All right. So Pulp Fiction gets a bye and goes to the quarterfinals. Okay. We have Shawshank Redemption, and this is round 4. We got Shawshank Redemption versus Tombstone. Shawshank wins by 64% of the votes.
Okay.
That's about right.
Yeah,
And it's 2 movies in my top 5. So I'm just like, yeah, okay, get them.
You
You
have
can't go wrong either way.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
The Matrix versus Casino. The Matrix wins by 60% of the votes.
I can see that.
Yeah.
You have Terminator 2 versus Forrest Gump.
Ooh.
Forrest Gump.
Hasta la vista.
Forrest Gump wins by 58% of the votes.
Ooh. That percentage started to come down.
Mm-hmm. You have Fight Club versus The Fugitive. On Facebook, Fight Club won by 55% of the vote. On Twitter, The Fugitive wins by 57% of the votes, which means The Fugitive wins by 51% of the votes.
Oh, damn.
Now, you have Goodfellas versus Seven.
Tough one.
Yeah.
Goodfellas wins by 56% of the vote.
Yeah. Of
Love
those
me
two,
some Ray Liotta.
However,
yeah, I'd have to go with Goodfellas out of that matchup, but that's a heck of a tough call.
Yeah.
However, seven did win by did beat it on Facebook though. Just that Twitter is a bigger margin. The last one, you have Hook versus Silence of the Lambs.
Damn it! If that thing, I'm going to bed. If Hook beats Silence of the Lambs,
It is signing out right now.
Silence of the Lambs wins.
Okay, thank goodness.
By 64% of the votes. Okay.
What?
Okay. Yes. Now, in the quarterfinals, I needed a bye as well, and I didn't want to keep giving the top seed the bye. So whoever the bottom part was will get the bye. So that means Goodfellas get a bye in the quarterfinals. Okay. I know it's not confusing, but just go with it. All right. So you have Pulp Fiction, and then there's this is the quarterfinals. You have Pulp Fiction versus Forrest Gump.
Ooh.
That's wow.
Ooh.
Right? A lot to unpack there.
This is another 50.5 win.
Ooh.
We should start calling those the Friday wins.
Yeah.
But the Friday wins.
50.01.
Now, Pulp Fiction wins on Twitter by 61% of the votes. On Facebook, Forrest Gump wins by 61% of the votes. Pulp Fiction wins by 50.5%.
Wow.
It was percentages. Percentage.
Damn.
And
Jim,
now
hey.
Dre is on 48-hour psychiatric watch.
Not really. It's Pulp Fiction. I mean, it didn't lose the hook.
If it would have been Hook, yeah.
If it would have been Hook, this show right tonight would never happen.
There were no movies in the 90s. We're not having a tournament.
You're throwing all the video and all the brackets out and just reseeded and started over. Like, no, we're doing a 90s bracket.
Shawshank Redemption versus The Fugitive.
Oh, fuck.
Shawshank Redemption wins by 85% of the votes.
Which was
Damn.
wild. Like,
Damn.
it just, that, how did it beat it by that badly? I
It beat it
mean,
by that badly.
Damn.
No, I mean,
that's
The
like-
Fugitive is a great fucking movie.
it is.
It really is.
I don't have a problem with Shawshank winning.
But by
I
that
don't
margin,
know by
Yeah.
that big of a margin. No, not by that big of a margin. Not a Friday percentage, but 40 maybe.
Now, fun fact about The Fugitive, since it got bumped out, the train scene from The Fugitive, that was filmed here in North Carolina.
Oh,
In the western part of the state. I'm in the central part of the state, but I was out there with my kids when they were little at a train riding thing they have out there. And part of the tour, you can see the train from that scene that they used is still there, like the crashed train is still there. So that was kind of neat.
Yeah, they filmed a bunch of the other parts of that here in Oregon.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Last matchup, because Goodfellas got a bye. Got The Matrix versus Silence of the Lambs.
Ooh.
Silence of the Lambs wins by 56% of the vote.
I can believe that.
Yeah.
Now we get the semifinals. We got 4 left. 4 movies. All right. First matchup is number 1, Pulp Fiction. Let me resize it real quick so I can see everything. Pulp Fiction, 1994, versus The Silence of the Lambs, 1991. On Twitter, Pulp Fiction wins by 55% of the votes. However, Facebook said, fuck you. The Silence of the Lambs wins by 80% of the votes.
Wow.
Which means that it wins by 62% of the vote.
Wow.
See, Hannibal Lecter does not go around eating Royale with cheese.
Right.
And the last matchup, The Shawshank Redemption, 1994 versus Goodfellas, 1990.
Shawshank.
I mean, Shawshank for sure, but
Shawshank.
it, like you got to think about it for a second. I think. to
Well,
make
the other
that
thing,
choice.
the other thing too is it's the thing to remember with these is it's an internet vote for just people on the internet and not like and not well. What I'm saying is it's not like the Motion Picture Academy judging something on artistic merit
Right,
and that kind of
yeah.
thing. It's going to be what people like rather than necessarily judging it on other kind of criteria. So
Costume design,
yeah.
and all
Yeah.
those things. Score.
So on Twitter, it was a dead split, 50-50. Shawshank wins by 60% of the votes. It was 60-40 total. Shawshank wins. So that means
I think it's going to be closer.
Shawshank versus Silence of the Lambs.
that means that yes, it is number
Oh,
two. Number 2, Shawshank Redemption versus number 32, The Silence of the Lambs. So I'm going to go around and ask all four of you, who do you like in this matchup? I'm not going to tell you yet. And one of you I think somebody might know, because I did post it. But you personally, what do you like out of these two? So Brad, Shawshank or Silence of the Lambs?
if you're talking my personal preference, I
Your
prefer
preference.
Silence of the Lambs. I always come back to what movie I want to go back and seek out if I want to sit down and watch something. That movie for me is Silence of the Lambs more often than Shawshank Redemption. Shawshank's a great movie. I mean, genuinely, like capital G, great movie. But Silence of the Lambs is one that I personally like watching more.
Chris.
Every Sunday on WB17, Shawshank Redemption came on. Every Sunday from when I was like 6 to fucking 13. But I'm gonna have to go with Silence of the Lamb, man. It's just a classic.
All right, Casey.
God, this is hard because like my all-time favorite list, they're literally like neck and neck, right next to each other. Oh God. I know I'm going to betray my tournament on An Evening at the Movies, but Silence of the Lambs.
And Dwayne.
I do believe that it does need to rub the lotion on its skin, or else it gets the hose again. But I have to pick my good friend Andy Dufresne here. I love me some Shawshank Redemption. I'm also surprised that there are a couple of movies that didn't make this list.
All right, hold on. Just give me a minute. We go through that.
I only got 2.
Me personally, I'd rather watch The Silence of the Lambs than Shawshank Redemption. To me personally, is more quotable than Shawshank. It's revolutionary on the skin. I ate liver with fava beans and some nice Chardonnay.
Hallelujah! It's a miracle.
Was she a great big fat person?
So me personally, Silence of the Lambs, I'd rather watch Silence of the Lambs.
Hello,
However, 4 of us are wrong.
Damn.
The Shawshank Redemption wins by 59% of the votes.
Wow. Damn.
Oh,
At least it was close, because it could have been closer, but at least it was close.
I would have liked it for it to be a 0.5.
Yeah. If there was ever a matchup that should have been a Friday percentage, just this one.
We'll keep calling the Friday percentage. All right, Dwayne, tell me the 2 movies that you think should be on here.
The 2 that I think should have been on here was The Saint with Val Kilmer. I think that was actually a really well done movie, and it was just kind of a cool premise, and it was fun to watch. But the one that just surprises the hell out of me that was not on this list is Hoop Dreams. Like Hoop Dreams, that just man, I could watch that almost every day. I mean, it's an amazing story, and it's real. It's a documentary. I mean, it's actual,
that's a powerful
real
movie.
life. Yeah,
Well,
and it wasn't even on the list.
No. It probably was. Now, here's the thing. So again, this list is brought to you by the fuck that is
Rotten Tomatoes.
Rotten Tomatoes.
Rotten Tomatoes. It's brought to you by
Yeah.
Rotten Tomatoes. However, though, I did take all the documentaries out. I do that every
Okay. I was gonna say, like, man.
So again, I don't remember if it is on there or not, but I did take Hoop Dreams out.
Okay, that's fair then, because I was surprised to not see Hoop Dreams on the list and be like that. But wow, it was such a good movie and from the 90s that I was amazed I didn't see it.
All right, so
I got two that should have been on there too.
All right, go ahead, Chris.
The Mask and Rush Hour. Why wasn't Rush Hour on this list, man?
Yeah,
that's
Rush Hour.
So the Mask. Sorry. So the Mask. I'm laughing at you. However, though, Rush Hour probably should have been on this list, and I want to see on Rotten Tomatoes what is ranked. It was ranked 61% on Rotten Tomatoes, so I'm pretty sure it wasn't high up there.
Fuck Rotten Tomatoes.
Thank you. Say it again.
Fuck
Go ahead, Brad.
Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, nice and loud for all them folks in the back.
All right. So what I'd like to do at the end of these is just say the winners. Now, 90 movies winner is Shawshank Redemption. It won by 59% of the votes. And we had two earlier tournaments, which was the superhero movies, which The Dark Knight beats Avengers Infinity War. All right. And then
I don't fuck that happened, but
it did. Actually, it went to the gauntlet. It beat Infinity War in the finals, and then it beat Endgame in the semifinals.
Mm-hmm.
How did Blade do in that tournament?
Blade. Give me 1 minute.
I know it was there. I want to say
It was there.
It dropped out in like the 32 or so range.
No, it lost in the first round.
Did it really?
What did it lose to? Did you have it up? I did, don't.
No, that's right. You want me to tell you?
Yeah.
It lost to the Batman 2022. What? It lost by 92% of the votes.
Wow, the Batman.
That's 92% of people that never saw Blade and saw and maybe they're big Twilight fans and they like Robert Pattinson because there's no way that 92%. There's no way that it's 92% better than Blade.
It's definitely not.
So somebody watched like White Man Can't Jump and they thought they watched Blade and it was not.
Blade is a sequel to White Man Can't Jump. The
movie we did before 80s movies. In the finals, it was Back to the Future versus Die Hard, and Back to the Future wins by 69% of the votes in the 80s.
Christmas.
Huh?
Fuck Christmas.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. The Princess Bride is the best 80s movie.
The Princess Bride was in the semifinals.
Mm-hmm.
It lost to back. It lost to
Trading Places.
Trading Places. Do we want to know? Because I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this. I know the answer to this. Do you want to know?
Yeah.
Trading Places made it to round 4.
What did it lose to?
It lost to Empire Strike Back.
Oh, that's a tough matchup.
Yeah.
It put up a fight. It was 50-50 split on Facebook.
Okay.
Like I'm always tempted when we try to scrub some of these lists and go, okay, is there anything that you have to have on it, whatever. And like, as a casual fan of both Star Trek and Star Wars, like I don't know a lot about either. They're entertaining to me, but I'm not like super in on either one of them. I almost want to just omit space stuff in general. Like just so much science fiction.
So here's the thing. When I did 80s movies, I think another podcast on Twitter told me that they do brackets as well. They was going to help us out, retweet all that kind of good stuff. And they said you shouldn't put Star Wars on here. I said, why? because people love Star
And
Wars.
it's gonna win.
It did not win though. I have full confidence in people that Star Wars win, and it didn't. So so my thing is, if Star Wars is a better movie than all 80s movies, then let the votes happen where they are. But they didn't.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the last Star Wars movies in the 80s, the last Star Wars movie lost in the quarterfinals and lost to Die Hard.
Yeah.
So
I'm a diehard Star Wars fan, and I don't see either Empire Strikes Back or Jedi winning that whole tournament.
So so that was just to the 90s, and then we are doing black movies with my cousin Chris and a lot of people on Thursday. And I did black movies because black movies were not represented well in the last these three tournaments.
What time period are you doing?
Overall black movies,
like all time.
And in the finals, I'm not gonna say who won because I'm not gonna lie, we tried to do this one and it got deleted, quote unquote, by accident. But the final two is coming to the final two is Coming to America versus Boys in the Hood.
I was just happy that Bruce Leroy and then The Last Dragon made it as far in the bracket as it did, because I felt like that one was going to get kind of dumped on early.
It did. So spoiler alert, it did make to round 3.
Yeah.
Pootie Tang better be on this list.
Pootie Tang, I know for a fact, is not on this list.
What?
I know for a fact. Yeah, it's not on his list at all.
How didn't Pootie Tang make a black movie list? Like, that's one of the blackest movies in the world.
So you're 100% right. Listen. So, and then we need to change to get done. But I didn't pre-screen these movies, and I should have, because spoiler alert. And I'm gonna go off on Thursday, and Chris gonna be there too. Spoiler alert: The Wiz lost in the first round.
Yeah.
How?
That you throw the baby out with the bathwater at that point. Yeah. As soon as I saw that one, I was just this.
The Wiz lost to a first round to a movie that I personally do not think is a black movie. The Wiz lost to Sister Act 1 in the first round.
That's a movie that has a black lead, but I wouldn't call it a black movie.
Right. And that was like Brad said earlier, it's people on the internet that never watched The Wiz. Like, I mean, that's what that was.
So we'll talk about that on Thursday. Listen, I want to thank Chris, I want to thank Casey, I want to thank Dwayne, I want to thank Brad for coming on. If you guys can say goodbye and tell me what you're working on, your podcast, shameless plugs. All right. Let's go with Brad first.
Yeah, so my show, Once Upon a Wasteland, like I said at the top, we finished our first season, 10 episodes in May. It's a great time to go and check that out. You can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, every popular podcasting platform, as well as pretty much any unpopular podcasting platform. It is out there everywhere. It's even out on YouTube, so please seek it out. You will not be disappointed. It's a fun story, great voice acting with some fabulous people in there. Our second season is going to be coming up. It's going to start in either late October, early November. I'm also streaming. I just started doing that a couple of weeks ago. My ID on Twitch is Reticent Duet, so you can look me up there. If you want to find me on Twitter, I'm much more active on the show account than on my personal account. The show Twitter is Once Upon 76 Pod. That's where I do most of my tweeting. My DMs are open. Please give a follow. And I also do my best to support other podcasters that whose work I enjoy, like the Mass Debaters. One of our first supporters, I will say, in the podcast, in the greater podcast community. So I owe you guys a lot for that, and I appreciate it very much. So yeah, give us a follow. We try to have fun out there. Also, I will say my partner Vitriol Plays. You can follow her on Twitter at Plays Vitriol. She had to put it backwards, and her ID on Twitch is Vitriol Plays. She plays Odessa, one of the lead characters in our show, and she's a great follow, and she's a fantastic streamer as well.
Hey, Dwayne, you want to plug anything?
No, I will hand my time off to anybody else that needs some more.
Casey.
So I'm going to totally fuck with Amanda's mind.
Casey, you're choppy, buddy.
Max Headroom.
So Amanda complains that I always ramble at this point on An Evening at the Movies. So you know what? Screw that. Greatest Stephen King movie of all time tournament is currently going on. September and then you can find us on all major podcast listening platforms, and we're all over social media. You can find us on Facebook by searching An Evening at the Movies. If you can find us there, you can. I'm personally on Facebook, so you can hit me up in the DMs if you need help finding me. Dre is more than welcome to help direct anybody to finding me and the show as well. So check it out. It's a good time, and all you guys are welcome to come on An Evening at the Movies whenever you want. We would love to have you.
All right, Casey, you was very, very choppy at the beginning of that, so I'm going to translate it for you a little bit, okay?
Okay.
Casey runs the Evening at the Movies podcast with the help of Amanda. They are now doing the Stephen King movie tournament, which, again, the only movie that ever scared me, like I love horror movies with a passion, but the only movie that ever scared me personally was It. And it's not really a movie, but it was, I mean, you know, it scared the shit out of me. To the day, I hate clowns. But you can find Casey on Facebook, Twitter, and all social media platforms at Evening at the Movies, and on Facebook as well during these tournaments. All right.
Good job.
Okay, no problem. And Chris Broadway.
You always know I bring an album.
Yes.
Only reason I'm showing Purple Rain is because Morris Day did not get his motherfucking due on Purple Rain. The time is the only reason Prince has his sound. Let's get that right. Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, the greatest producers of all time. Don't squint your face up. Fix your face. Don't follow me on social media. Follow my wife. 86% of all women wear the wrong size bra. That's why I have a hat on that says titties. Follow at the Philly Bra Lady. Also follow her. We follow her on all social media platforms at the Philly Bra Lady. And also on Instagram, she has started what I guess you would call her behind the scenes stuff where we do date night, and it's called Mommy, Wifey, and something else. I don't know. Don't get me lying. But if you follow at the Philly Bra Lady, you'll find Mommy Foodie Wifey. That's what it is, Mommy Foodie Wifey, and you'll see a lot of the trips that me and my wife takes. A lot of the date night ideas that we do, and just her mind of a wife and a mother and a blended family and all those great things. So if you cannot come to Philadelphia to get fitted for a bra, please buy a gift card, get your wife, your girlfriend, your mistress, your partner, your significant other, anybody who, your niece, your nephew.
Stop snitching.
I'm just saying, get them a gift card to the At the Philly Bra Lady. A bra could change a woman's life, and it could change your sex life. I guarantee it.
All right. Well, thank you guys for coming on. Our next episode is the Black Movie Tournament on Thursday. See you later. Peace.
Peace.